Not a summer,
Well,
you're not a summer employee. Right.
I don't think Carolyn is.
He's not.
Yeah.
She's not.
And Craig's
Craig,
there.
should we put Craig somehow under his face? We'll have a couple more. Should I grab my snacks now? Butters? He's elevated.
I have, wide selection.
Let's see how long this goes. Fried extra,
Selection.
fried extra food.
We're gonna run out. So, go wait till next fiscal.
I hope there's,
Well, we could get them in this fiscal.
is there room in the budget to, have more
Talk
tax?
about the more than-
I mean, that used to be able.
Gonna sandwich now?
Just in time.
I think that was a main decision today.
I see, okay.
Some pretty good cookie bars that she gave a whole bag
Oh,
to our office today.
Wow.
They were amazing. Yeah, she
So
likes,
we're going.
she likes to
um,
experiment all her
recognition,
bacon
teenage
on.
familial.
The Republican
I'm not trying.
driving, I just.
No, you-
oh my gosh. Okay.
I'm trying to eat
She's so
cookies out.
Such an innovative.
I know, she's great.
Yeah.
All right. I'd like to call to order the Alpha Town Council meeting of the state, which is 17th, 2026. We're going to start with a work session. And I'll give a sentence or two of background. 14 months ago, we had probably the best attended town council meeting ever. And, I would like to see some attendance growth to something like that level again, but not necessarily with that tone and so forth. But it occurred, and most of the attendees were of a mind that the town did not require less. Nevertheless, the town went ahead and required a little less. And I wanted to find out how that's worked out from the standpoint of, hey, so I've asked Sarah and Aubrey to attend and give us their perspective.
Staff just make a couple comments first.
Yes, please do.
And I think Chris and I were gonna.
Sure.
All right.
I thought I was gonna introduce in case the mayor was,
In capacity.
not going to, but I mean, I'll just offer that lead, we had a meeting with Sarah last week to just, debrief the busy part of the year. And we all left feeling like things have been going well at a sort of operational level. We talked about the rental rate structure and just, I think we decided we didn't feel like any changes were necessary or prudent at this time, but we'll keep thinking about that going forward. We talked about snow removal and the way we maintain the building. I personally have been really psyched to have Brett on as a facilities manager. It has allowed us, among so many other things, to have regular eyes on the ground in there at the facility. And it's kind of provided us like a more social human touch point with Sarah and with Ace, because he happens to be down there while Sarah's down there while Ace events are, preparing for Ace events. And so, anyway, I mean, from my perspective, at least operationally, it's been going really well. We've talked about, in the meeting, we talked about the possibility we would do some kind of architectural, feasibility study to, make changes to the patio or the grounds, of the facility in the next fiscal year. And, so thanks, Sarah, for all that. Jen, I don't know if you.
I just wanted to, I put a couple little modest notes in this clerk staff report just regarding like the budgeting for the facility. And, we had some numbers from Connie. Sarah and I kind of sat with and hashed out, and we did a pretty good job. I think if anything, you know, like I typically budget conservatively, so, you know. I think the big unknown was, are we gonna reach our revenue goals, which we did, and I think that just shows great partnership and how good ACE has been doing at promoting events and whatnot. And, you know, I think from that standpoint, we haven't had Fred on for a full year yet, so we're still gathering data on like what it takes, but we've got a really good sense of like how much time he spends down there just with the upkeep, so we're getting better and better, and I feel good about how we've budgeted for this year's numbers. So anyways, I'm pleased that we were as close as we were on number stuff, so.
Great.
Shall I go up there?
Yeah, that helps with the audio.
Sarah Gibbs.
Oh, we didn't know.
Arthur, thank you for asking me to come and talk to you guys, to do an update on Our Lady. Having this communication is gonna be essential. I speak to the employees and especially to Fred a lot, but I really appreciate the invite. I'm gonna start off with some statistics for fiscal year 2025, since we run the same fiscal year as the town. There's 190, the building was used 190 times for events, 120 of them were for ACE events. And the other 70 was for classes, for mass, for memorials, for weddings, for all the stuff that it can get rented for. I think in the ACE budget last year, we guessed maybe 20,000 would come in. And it was around it's gonna be around 21,000. And so that was pretty good, you know, kind of shot in the dark for the first year, based off loose financials of the past 30 years. And the town will get 65% of that, and the ACE is 35% of that. And I'll have a check for you guys. Wow. It's almost the end of June. So speaking of statistics, in this next fiscal year, ACE is gonna be 30 years old. And I have been with ACE for 20 years, starting this week. June 2006, so it's hard to say for some reason. I started as the executive director. I was with ACE for 2 years prior to that. That same year of June 2006, that's how I should say it, Bill Lennon also died, so. We're at his 20-year anniversary, and sorry, didn't know that was gonna happen. I always like to think that, you know, all of the people that began with ACE and have been a part of ACE, they've seen like what we've done. I'm just happy. Oh God, why am I getting official with this? I hope Bill Lennon can see what our town is and what ACE has become. So in my 20 years, I had to pull up these stats. I've had 1,823 events with 47.7 offered for free to 77,260 attendees. We've done 41 grants, 4 murals, 1 flag, 5 artists in residence, and 19,000 to the school. And I think it's really awesome. Someone that went to art school, I really like data, so like I look at stats and luckily I've kept track of those since I started as an executive director. A lot of reasons for that is for the grants. We have to provide that information, but it's mainly broken down like pretty deep. Information, so it's kind of fun. Okay, for the past year, as you know, we've all spoken about, you know, having town of Belleville own the building is not the result that ACE wanted, but it is the result that happened. And the best thing I think about ACE is that we are willing to change, we are willing to adapt. In 2017, you know, we saw the need for mental health in town, and we actually rewrote our vision to adapt to help the community. So I know I've been a leader, but I do truly think our organization is willing to adapt. And so that's what we did. So in the past year, we accepted this and we worked with it and we worked with the town. And there's been a lot of learning curves, not only for me, but for the town employees on how we're all doing this. And it's been really easy to work with changes with the town. Just little things like adapting the fee schedule and writing the agreement and seeing what needs to be changed in the agreement. There's never been anything that's been hard or large disagreements or solid no's. Truthfully, since all this has occurred, it's only been yeses. And that's been really amazing. And for Ace to be completely at that building is really nice too. And my office is there. I'm not up here, I'm not down there, I'm not in my truck, my home, like Ace stuff everywhere. Like just being in one home, it actually feels like a home, which is like what we wanted by owning it. But you guys know, the town of Alta owning it, we still make, it feels like home. And so hopefully that's okay, that we consider it our home. And I'm really appreciative of working with the employees. And everything, we agreements from the agreement, like soap in the bathroom, there was a conversation. And guess what? We're like, yes, of course, we don't want to get horrible soap, we want to get something that's good for the environment. So it's just little tiny things like that that has made it really great. That building has been overly loved, and the reason why it's in such great condition is because of Paul Lippert. And filling his shoes as building maintenance person is gonna be really hard. Fred Swetland is doing an amazing job. I can't even say how happy I am to have Fred. I've known Fred for a really long time, so it's not like I had to like learn how to meet a new person or understand someone's personality or that person understanding me. He cares for Our Lady just as much as Connie, me, and Paul have in the past 30, me for 20. I know that was a big decision for the town and a big part of the budget, so he's worth every penny, and I've heard from other departments for the town saying like he's awesome, so let's get a big star for him. So one of the learning curves, I have spreadsheets, you have QuickBooks, I'm running this building, I'm booking the building out. You have agreements, we're figuring out how to write all these things, but what I've really learned, it's not running the building, it's just QuickBooks and spreadsheets. It's about having a lot of empathy and kindness, because many of the people that are renting the building just have a major loss, the memorials. And sometimes it's not that easy. And when people have a major loss like that, they're not fully functioning. And sometimes it's really hard for them to sign an agreement or pay. And sometimes I'm picking up the phone at 8 AM on a Saturday because I know that phone number is the person that's renting the building next week for someone that they've lost. I'm gonna pick it up. And a lot of times they're crying, and it's not just, there's a building and we rent it out. I like to call myself the bookie, in Grove, Utah, other towns around the state, they got bookies. Being the bookie in the building, it's not just getting the payments and the papers. It's dealing with people that have had loss, and also like joyous occasions. So that's been really interesting, and having the calmness, the patience, and the empathy to work with those people. Because it's hard. It's in different ages, and we're trying to do everything electronically. And having those age ranges, people just can't figure out how to pay online. And guess what? We accept checks. And checks will be better, there's no fees. So the learning curve isn't just from an office standpoint, it's also on a personal standpoint of working with people. I also realized, because of what I've learned on that part, this is a completely symbiotic relationship. Ace needs Our Lady and the town owns it, so we need the town. And I shouldn't say we need to be in the building. We want to be in the building. It's our home, it's been our home. The town wants the building, but they definitely need ACE to run it. Cause even though it doesn't take up a ridiculous amount of time to do it, it takes up time to do it. And all the employees are really busy, and like maybe at some point it's gonna be a really fine-tuned ship and it's gonna be really fast, but I don't think it is, cause each rental has its individual quirks. And sometimes when people show up, the Wi-Fi got knocked off, and you know, they're calling me, I'm like, oh, I gotta go plug it in. So it's a really symbiotic relationship, and it's working, and I hope it works for a really long time. And I like that it's not one-sided, that we need each other. And so I guess to wrap it up, I think the past year has been great, and I'm looking forward to many, many years of it continuing to be like that. And I hope that when we redo our agreement next year, that we can look at a long-term agreement and not just these little 2-year agreements, and we can always amend and look back. And keep that, you know, I think the thing is, the town of the building, ACE is in the building, but the building is the community's building, and let's try to keep it that way.
Good.
That's it. Ari, do you want to say anything?
Yeah, I think you covered it. I can just quickly say this from.
Yeah, why don't you come up?
Sorry.
Before you better there.
Nice try though.
Yeah. Makes me feel much more normal. Look, we, as ACE's kind of board, and I guess as a representative for that body today, you know, we kind of entered into this agreement with, I think, a lot of excitement, but also trepidation, and we're really expanding ACE's mission and scope and putting a huge time commitment on Sarah. And really, we've been really, I think it's been a really positive for the community and for the town and for ACE to have this really positive working relationship, and looking forward to it continuing to be a success and getting more of the word out. And you know, we want the space to be used. I think that's one thing Sarah's been really good about is we want as many people to have access to this community space as we can. So one of the things like we're working on is just, you know, how else can we get that word out that it's available and get more organization involved in new activities this we have. So yeah, thanks everyone for all the support.
So I think you're happy with it too.
Yeah, I think we've been happy with it. Yeah, absolutely. And we really appreciate Jen and Chris and Fred and everybody in town has been really helpful in making it work. I mean, there's kind of a lot to just kind of get it up and running and get ACE moved in there and get systems all put together, and it's been really positive. We appreciate it.
I was gonna say, I've heard from some people that and not knocking how like the you know, the diocese did it, or you know, I know Connie was doing it, but I've definitely heard positive feedback from people renting. That it's been like really good rental experience, and yeah, I've heard word getting out. I was gonna actually say there was somebody in the front office down at the ski area like an hour ago looking for Sarah. He was dropping off a bunch of magazines, something about resort retreat spaces and advertising in his magazine. He's emailing. But yeah, all I heard was the positive thing, so.
I do have to say that, and I forgot to bring it up, one thing that is coming up as a request. Trying to figure out how to make a good example, a 6 a.m. fitness class in the summertime has been like a request. And
7:30.
before, you know, everyone goes to work, yeah, it's like 6 a.m. I'm like, well, I'm not really there. And, you know, we do have well-being in our mission, and fitness classes fit into that. But what's starting to happen a little bit, like if you add more fitness classes and you add like a, you know, Pilates class, you know, these things, it starts to push ACE's mission. And I'm so focused on our mission and not pushing the mission and staying within mission, because you can lose your 501c3 if we suddenly are only doing sports, you know, like people are like, wait, what about art? And so I've gotten a lot of requests at that, and it's something I know that the town's budget is really, you know, it's tight. But like maybe a conversation should be talked about, like some sort of like Parks and Rec, which I'm assuming you have it like town park, but maybe including money in there, so then there could be events like that. And this is like a way deeper conversation on how it could be developed, you know. Maybe something to the same effect of ACE, like manages it, but it's out of our numbers and my accounts and everything. Cause there's been questions of that. What are some things that like, why can't we do this? And I'm like, well, kind of out of my mission, so.
But yeah, so if I'm hearing you, it's more like we might still be willing to be the bookie.
Yeah,
Or alternatively, if it's too much of a tax for not as much of a service to the community, is it also an area we might say no at some point to go, okay, we don't want to start having classes at 5 AM.
yeah. Come on, 7 or 8, yeah. Still starting, it's a little out of our mission. And
But you think it's gonna continue to mission
could
creep?
be in a community center's mission. So.
We should talk to the business and people.
Something to think about for sure.
Well, I mean, basically, like, what will happen, they'll be like, hey, Sarah can raise and ski and snow, we'll give Ace money and then you do it, you know?
Alright.
Yeah. But it's something, I know there's I think that if classes such as that were at Our Lady and weren't ACE events, I think they would be attended.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's one reason why when we talked about building a community center all those years ago, you know, there was all these like, there was like a rec space and there was office space and meeting space and like ACE had a space. And you know, that component has always been kind of brought in. And so, yeah, I think as this concept of the town having a community center, you know, we can like slowly kind of explore those and see if there's a need for them. And, but yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons why that building got so out of control is because people kept saying like, we need this in our community center. So yeah, but at some point you do have to say no, or yeah, you can always explore those options and see if it's something.
But
What to do.
It's still, in the end, it'll come to our responsibility, because if it transcends Sarah and their mission.
Yeah.
That's why, you know, I felt that we should have a community center, we do have to take on that burden, or say it's a bridge too far. But that way it's not
Yeah.
hindering what they're doing, which is critical, especially the mental health.
But yeah, I think it's just something to think about, and maybe there's a way we can, as you get the requests, you can kind of keep track of the need, like I'm trying to think, I can definitely count like at least 4 or 5 people that are probably asking for that, but then you have to say, is holding a class at 6 AM for 4 or 5 people
Yeah.
worth it?
Right.
Open the
Yeah.
building up and have someone staff it, and so, yeah, I think you just have to kind of like weigh it all, right?
Yeah.
I used to think I wanted to work out at 6 AM. To the ski area that one summer too, and to be working 7 one time.
Something to resolve.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only our first year, but you know, it's something that, you know, could be like a goal. Have it like as any other community center, that we there are some other things that can happen.
Yeah, for us, I mean, speaking for me, it's still our responsibility to just support you to the best ability that we can. And that's why, like, this is critical, I think this is great to hear, and the stats are pretty staggering. Over 77,000 people, that's really impressive for our built a town with 100 residents. But, you know, it's to, you know, that's where you come in and voice it and say, listen, we're getting this and it's too much pressure or it's outside of our lane. And then we'll all have the conversation and we can take that part off, we play it anyway.
But I also think that it's like a yearly talk with you would be.
Yeah.
We'll continue to do this, I think, every year, because
Yeah.
it's good to hear about, and I do. How many events did you have 2 years ago versus this year? Were they
We're
all
up
the same? You're okay.
I wanna, I was just looking at it, this is our highest year ever, of we had 194 total events. This year. A lot were good, was yoga. So, you know, when I say that, some I always get something like, whoa, and I was like, but I still have to make sure they happen, I still have to make sure they attended, that, you know, this is all that stuff. The rest of them by like between like 160, 170, so.
Well, I know that was one of your worries, you know, when we did this transition last year, it was like we didn't want to miss any opportunity, especially in the summer when it was like transitioning from the diocese to the town.
Yeah, we,
And so I know that was okay.
Yeah, but that's like a 12% increase.
No, that's good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
That's pretty significant, because it's double digits.
And 170 events is basically one every other day. And that's pretty. I'd say the space is well utilized.
well, 100, what did I say?
No,
100 and,
I thought it was 180.
well, 194 total ACE events, but 120
In the building.
were in the building.
Oh, yeah.
Some of them are outside.
Okay.
Yeah.
I also love what you did with the bathrooms. I love that there's different themes, so sometimes I could be like, which theme do I
Yeah,
like?
whatever you have it.
Okay, well, yeah, I think we're all pleased. You guys wanna say, or I've already said about your piece on,
I just guess thank you for the relationship, and it's been, we're gonna. It's a working relationship, it's always gonna evolve, and we're gonna have new challenges, and we'll work through them.
yeah, this is a great report. I hope you can.
How many memorials would you say you get? And do you think it's increasing? Memorial, it's for somebody's service.
Yeah, I mean, it's mixed between weddings, memorials, gatherings.
Okay.
Most are memorials, well, I mean, we eliminate the Alta Lodge, cause they rent it as a backup in case it rains. Sometimes they don't even use the building, they still pay for it. I mean, only like 4 or 5.
Okay.
That 70 includes Mass and American Avalanche Institute using the building, so they're the majority. We gotta, and Diocese will be coming back, Mass will be coming back, and American Avalanche Institute.
So the
Wow.
church rents it
Yeah.
from us,
I think that's great.
yeah.
The parishioners are very happy, they were convinced it wasn't gonna happen again.
Okay,
I wanna say, Sarah, that the statistics you had were moving to me because well, for one, they're powerful on their own, but it brought up something that was really wrenching for me during that period of time last spring when the future of the building was uncertain. And that was like your singular, Sarah Gibbs, your singular influence on the Alta community. And if you've done if you've been here for 20 years, Sarah, with ACE, and ACE has been there for another 10, and you've had 1,000 events plus, and however many tens of thousands of people, the number of people you, especially you, but also ACE, have brought into this community is unmatched, and the community wouldn't be what it is without you. I think of when I was 20 years ago, 2005, 2006, a young Alta kid, 22. When you knew who I was from coming to ACE events, I felt like I was part of the community. And there's no other venue for that community. But how well do you heckle in front of the Collins lift line, or were you the last person on High Wrestler? I mean, what else identifies you as a community member? And so, yeah, super well said. And I'm so gratified that we can be a part of this, sustaining that.
yeah.
Well said, Chris.
She's blushing a little bit.
And she got a chuckle on.
Yeah, okay, I don't know, what do we have to follow up from that? We have a
Capital expenditure.
discussion regarding the capital committee.
I haven't thought nearly as much about that, so.
And unless Greg wanna say anything on the last subject. Okay, all right. Lies, thanks for coming.
I've had a couple people ask me who's on the capital committee. Do we have it listed somewhere, or do you wanna say it for like where who's on it? Cause I've had somebody else ask me that, and I was like, is it on the website or is it anywhere?
No,
Do you wanna say? it?
No, I think
Maybe
you
for the
should,
for the record somewhere?
well, it's certainly on the website, but do we have a committee link page? No, I mean, but the notion of having like a landing page or.
I don't know if you can.
I don't think he needs a landing.
Nor just a place where we could, like, yes, say who's on it. I don't know if it has to be part of, I don't know how you would do it, honestly. Or if you just wanna say who's on it real quick before you start your presentation.
Yeah, I guess I'm not sure
In case anyone else is
either,
listening.
but I guess it's a really good point because, you know, eventually, like, let's say a year from now. Or 16 to 18 months from now, this capital improvement planning stuff is. Ideally, if we're on track, it's gonna take a lot of oxygen, it's gonna draw a lot of attention and interest. And so a landing page for that whole. Scope of topics, is a good idea.
And I don't know if the committee members, I've had somebody be like, hey, I've got some thoughts, but an idea, then someone else was like, I wanna talk to somebody on the committee, how can I get a hold of them? And I was like, I'm not sure.
Well, we do have a town council representative. I don't see him, he's not in.
Indeed,
So you can always steer them there.
That's true.
Sorry, good point.
That's true. But I think some of community members just want to talk to their, other community members, right? Like, that's kind of the point of
Yeah,
the group.
but he can still do the, he can make.
We're still at the beginning stages.
For sure. No, I get it.
Had the first meeting.
I know, but I just wanted to point it out, that it's just like at some point, maybe in the next 6 months or as things ramp up, that we might get, when we get more questions about it and the process, and someone comes back from their massive summer vacation, some resident, and they're like, what are you guys doing? What is this? Because they haven't been paying
Right,
attention. We can tell them where to go. Point them out.
In a nice way.
In a nice way.
Yes.
Cause that happens. People get out of touch when they're not in town.
all right, well, it's not the March meeting, I wonder if this is the right version, okay, well, it's the June meeting and this is the first typo of the day for me, so. So I wanted to take this opportunity to talk about the capital committee. The first meeting of this capital committee, which you all handled in April, is scheduled for July the 15th. And so. So there's July.
To the 14th.
It's on a slide,
You've been
well,
saying the 14th.
it's a Wednesday, and I think that turns out to be 15th, so.
It is 15th.
Yes.
So anyways, the next town council meeting is the previous Wednesday, so we'll only have a week between the next council meeting and this first committee meeting. So I wanted to take this opportunity to just have a discussion with you all about it. As a refresher, we've settled for now, for discussion purposes on the name Capital Committee, which is an acronym that Molly came up with, Citizens Advisory Panel to Improve the Town of Alta. So I think we anticipate that committee can change its name if it would like to. There are 8 members on the committee. I'm gonna ad lib. Those members are Rosie O'Grady, Liz Rocco, Lindsay Deolos, Paul Mader, Murray Danforth, Steve Levy. How many am I?
Scott
6, that's 6.
That's 6.
You're doing pretty
Scott
good.
Briggs.
Scott Briggs,
I'm not too left
an
out.
individual I have not met. I had not known before he applied and was appointed to the committee, so it's really embarrassing. I don't know his name, but we do have another individual who's a blackjack condominium owner, has been an owner there for a long time and has family ties to Alta. And he phoned in to this facilities tour we had in late April, remember, the report to the engagement from all of our committee members. So it's a really good point. Was that
better committee? No.
Craig has been appointed, the charter has some specifics about that appointment, I don't remember what they are, we can talk about that
He's
when
at
we
town
get to the
council.
charter.
Yeah,
And that's up for the council to decide, and specifically, is he an ex officio committee member? Does the council liaison vote on whatever the committee's gonna vote on besides minutes? So, I think those details are a little bit more arbitrary. And I think we can discuss them when we get to the charter.
Okay.
So anyway, we do have, yeah, we met informally in April. We were really nice, walking out to the town facilities. Marshall, the dispatcher, me, Holly, and most of the group and the mayor. It was really nice. The purpose of this committee, as we've discussed it, is to review capital improvement proposals and then recommend budgets for those projects and funding options for each of those projects to the town council. So we do have a draft charter in the packet. We don't have action to adopt it on the agenda for this month, but we do suggest formally adopting a charter. I think that's, you know, something we've discussed at the council. It's also something a few committee members have recommended. You know, we worked from the budget committee charter as a template, and I hope I removed all emphasis of the word budget from it. It clarifies the purpose of the committee, and it sets, you know, basic ground rules for the committee's conduct and authority. You know, again, we recommend the council sort of have autonomy in determining the committee's role and responsibilities through adoption of this charter. And we'd like to get to the point where we can adopt the charter in the July meeting.
James Crosby.
James Crosby. I'm so embarrassed and forceful for remembering that. It makes it, it made a great point, at least, about having those committee members available on the website, because
Yeah, I mean, I just.
you have some,
Thinking of like a simple page, a landing page that has their names and maybe the charter,
right?
you know, of dates of their meetings. At something like you said, in 16 months, maybe we start putting more things in there, but keep it pretty basic for the beginning.
Well, it's an interesting point, and you know, plenty of other municipal governments and other government entities have all these advisory bodies. And you can, you know, those are their names are public, so
I was gonna say, I was asking if they were gonna do their training, the OPMA training. That looks like it.
yes, tentatively. So yeah, the first meeting is on the 15th of July. That's a Wednesday. We actually were pretty swift in finding a time that worked for committee members. I am feeling some urgency about checking in to ensure that that's still a good time of the committee, because I've not been in touch with committee members recently, but it's from 11 to 1, kind of right in the middle of the day. And, you know, people are going to be in a number of different time zones for that. We will have a fair amount of remote attendance. We'll either hold that meeting here or at Our Lady. You know, will be a hybrid meeting. The charter, if you didn't look into it, it's not a major point of it, but we're essentially going to use the town council's virtual or hybrid meeting policy. A provision in the Open Public Meetings Act is that if you're gonna have virtual meetings or members will attend virtually, you have to have a policy, and we've got one, so we're just gonna use that one. You all know how that works. It's it basically obligates the municipality to provide you a way to join the meeting. So anyhow, so we have only a tentative agenda. You know, there's some sort of housekeeping to do. I think it makes sense to have a committee chair. The charter reflects that. Like the committee to discuss the charter. You know, we talk more about Open Public Meetings Act compliance, but I think it makes sense to sort of pull the Band-Aid off and have a training on that. We will continue to think about how to keep Open Public Meetings Act compliance to be a burden, and our training can reflect that. A key item, of course, you know, we need to provide a refresher on kind of about the capital planning. You know, we've put together a lot of some presentations on those topics over the last 12 months or so. So we will be thinking about what the key elements are that of. I feel like it's safe to assume that, you know, not everybody who's going to participate in that committee knows, you know, what our 3-party water system improvements are at that level of detail. And then we'll talk a little bit about you know, what the town of Alta as a municipality is, what what our budget support. And what our options are as a municipality to fund projects. You know, a little, Jen has a couple great topics in mind, such as what is a fee versus what is a tax? And what are the limits of those? So, yeah, anyways. An introductory meeting, it's only 2 hours. So, anyway. We've had a lot of back and forth on the capital committee, and the Open and Public Meetings Act. We've had a lot of long conversations with our legal counsel. If you look at the statute, the Open and Public Meetings Act itself, it's pretty clear that the committee is a public body under the definition of a public body. It's advisory. It's created by an act, a legislative act of the town council is, you know, essentially statute, rule, ordinance, or resolution. You know, it consists of several individuals. I think it's really important to note that, you know, the town is investing public resources, public money in the committee, simply by me and Jen, and our legal counsel and our facilities manager, and our utility bills at our buildings going to support the operations of that committee. We've talked about perhaps funding some budget to fund studies that the committee, you know, would be interested to see. So that's clearly use of tax revenue. And while we don't contemplate the committee being explicitly vested with decision-making authority, it does have advisory authority, and that qualifies it. So the safest thing to do is assume that it would be considered subject to the Open Public Meetings Act and facilitated accordingly. You know, the basics, you all know the basics. Much of it will come down to staff. So I think that was one of the key reasons why it came up in the first place. Some of us had, you know, some concerns about, we're going to have this additional public body, and there is a burden to the municipality, to staff on, you know, running it according to oil. So, you know, we'll notice meetings 24 hours in advance. We'll have an agenda. That's really a pretty low bar, to be frank. These meetings will be open to the public. Public participation is not required under OPMA, but I think we've all been on the same page about this being an opportunity for conversation, right? We want the committee members to know what the community feels. We want the community to know what we're talking about. And so, you know, organic exchange in those meetings could be really valuable. We will need to have minutes and recordings. That's all on staff. You know, I think the key sticking point that we've talked about is the whole thing about, you know, a quorum of the committee constituting a meeting of the public body, and there are exceptions to that. You know, a chance social gathering doesn't count. So anyway, you know, I think that's the key sticking point, and I'm confident that we can yes, come up with an MO with the committee that reduces the burden of all this stuff and makes it efficient, an efficient body.
And it leads to a question, Chris, if you don't mind pausing it here. You know, with OPMA and doing training for the committee members, should 3 of us be at that meeting for whatever reason? You know, Craig's there, and then Lisa and I both show up, and because we're not taking action as town council at this meeting, and it's had its 24-hour notice and people have been trained. It's fine if we're all talking about this in that room, even though we're a quorum.
No, so for the.
And I'm like, uh-oh, is that trouble? Only 2 of us can ever be there.
You
Maybe
can
just
still
one.
be there, we just might not be able to we can't participate and take action in the meeting. You can be, if you and I wanted to sit and watch.
But we can't
Or
say
like-
anything. I don't do that very well.
Really?
too. It's like if you and I, let's say, wanted to attend a planning commission meeting and Roger was there, we could like watch it and we can like observe and.
But I think there's some things that we can do on the agenda, saying a possible quorum.
Yeah.
Council could be present, but no action will be taken. Like, there's probably language that we should.
I guess I tried to.
But if you're gonna be
Use-
talking about that type of stuff, yeah, there might not be any action, but it's.
But it's still, it's influencing the town's direction.
Right,
And that-
so,
But if there's only ever two of us there, then it's never a problem. We can do anything we want. Green M&Ms for, you know, like a,
yeah.
for Led Zeppelin.
But yeah, if we want, if you and I wanted to. Have them be there, we can attend and watch it.
But also, I mean, that's why you also, appointed a liaison to bring back that information to you.
Yeah, I will not be at the 15th.
Great.
So if I might interject, as the appointed liaison, I think it's very important that I not interject any of my opinions. And that's for two reasons. One, I am afraid if I say anything other than, straight process stuff, right? Okay, make sure we got the agenda and things like that. I'm afraid if I say anything, the committee will misinterpret it as a position of the town of Alta as opposed to Craig Highmark speaking independently. Perhaps even more importantly, I really think we want to have a citizens committee. And our job should not be to influence them. It should be to hear, remember, the decision authority is ours. And I would like to hear unbiased opinions from an independent citizen committee on what they come up with. What are they recommending? And I just don't want to influence it very much. At all. Let me rephrase that. At all.
Yeah.
I think, Greg, what you bring will be of value, and it's kind of like that first agenda. It's like just bring the background of like the town budget and the finance, because I think some of these folks are not going to understand, how the town goes about stuff. When we talk about the bond, it's not like the town can just go out and get money any way we want to. Like we have requirements, and the town has to follow certain rules and procedures. And so I think that's where you're gonna help, like some of the background information, like how did we get here, or that kind of stuff is where, and you being past, the budget.
Well, I agree with that. But again, in most cases, what I would see my job being is, because that stuff's not just going to come up the first meeting. It's going to come up fairly often. But I think the best way to deliver that is to take it as a request, work with Jen and Chris so that it's actually presented by the town staff, not so much by Craig Highmark. And again, for the reasons that I articulated earlier.
I refute your desire for unbiased input from citizens, because I don't think you'll get any unbiased. It's all good. We want those opinions.
Oh yeah, all I meant was unbiased by the town council members. I didn't. Everybody brings. I know some of the people, like Scott Briggs, is not a shrinking violet. All right, we are going to get his opinion, and it's going to be loudly and forcibly, and that's great. That's exactly what we want. I just don't want to have it bleed over into influence from me or you, Dan, or people that are on the town council. So we keep that somewhat separate.
What I hear you say is I should never attend one of these meetings. So, I think it's for them to come up with information and provide it as a community body to give it to us.
Well, they'll be recorded, so you can watch them later.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to hear what they have to say, but I'm not gonna go.
Okay, more on capital?
Yeah, okay, so I'd like to take the bulk of the remaining time, I guess we really have like 7 or 8 minutes, don't we? So I'd like to spend some time talking about the charter. There's not a whole lot to it, so we don't need to get into it, that's fine, but I would like able to adopt it in the July meeting. The committee members have asked for that. I'm gonna prepare for the July 15th meeting. We don't know, the committee has to decide that. We've talked about bi-monthly or quarterly meetings. We really need to have think more. We need to have some material for the committee to sink its tooth into for the second meeting to be worthwhile. And I wish I had more to tell you about progress towards our capital improvement planning goals. I mean, I guess as I say that, there are some things that we're putting in place to support good outcomes or more expedient outcomes. A couple of those things are the town engineer contract, which is in the consent agenda. We talk about that more later, but they'll play a role in the water and sewer planning and the actual capital improvements themselves. We're also, at some point, I think I had a row on this chart for engage a municipal advisor. We posted a procurement for a municipal advisor, which is a financial advisor, fiduciary advisor to the town. So we posted this so that, and they, help us primarily contemplate issuing debt. I think we do a number of other things, but that's sort of what they're in the business of doing. So they collect their fees based on debt you successfully issue with their assistance. So anyways, we took proposals and we reviewed the proposals, and we anticipate bringing a recommendation to you to engage the municipal advisor in July. We expect that's gonna have some conversation with the council. You can tell I was about to say a big deal and then I waffled a little bit. I mean, it's a significant step. We will most likely not be on the hook for any fees until we're working. But so anyways, I'm getting a little bit sidetracked. We are taking some steps to, support good outcomes with capital improvement planning. But I have not made much progress on this next design phase, which is program and site conditions, and we really need to get that going in order to stay on track for that construction goal of, let's say 2 years from right now, sometime around June of 2028. So anyway, it's been a really busy and challenging couple months at the town. The urgent feels like it's just dominating the strategic, to use Craig's great phrase. But hopefully when we get through this meeting, we can take a longer view again. So anyway, here's the charter. Think. Or am I? Oh, there we go. Okay, thanks for. Yeah, so I think, this is again, it's got most of the same sections, or all the same sections as the budget committee charter. The authority is to provide advice to the council. The purpose is to review capital improvement proposals that staff develops and consider whether they meet the needs of the community. Essentially, are these the right projects? And primarily to review proposals to fund that. What are they going to cost? What's the right amount of money? Does the need match the budget? And how should they be funded if we check all those other boxes? Describes the membership, minimum of 5 members and no more than 10. I think that's consistent with our outcomes, certainly. Mentions the liaison. We're happy to have found a nice cross section of the community to serve. The town council appoints the committee. We haven't talked really about removal, but it makes some provisions for the council removing committee members or committee members resigning. Qualifications are broad. There are a number of, can qualify as a committee member, number of ways. We've talked about the duties and recommendations, I believe, or duties and responsibilities, rather. On the bottom page, we've got a bit about ethics. We've not talked about ethics, but we've not talked about ethics that much, but I think that's something we can cover in the first meeting, and I don't expect that to be a big deal.
Did they have to fill out that ethics policy that we all had to fill out? That ethics pledge or whatever that
I think, there's, cause there's the two
conflict, there's
forms.
a conflict and an ethics one that we have
Yeah.
people fill out. We do it every year, right?
All of the staff does it as well.
Yeah, so I feel
Well, I
like
think
these
that's-
guys will probably have to, okay.
Including the conflict, they'd have to fill out the conflict.
Yeah, there's conflict and there's
Because I don't,
ethics, there were two.
it almost seems like they wouldn't need to fill out the conflict because it's just this advisory body. And I think if we can remove that obligation from them, it will make people happy. But
We
is it
might have
necessary?
adopted, we might have
Pauline, to
adopted it though.
You have to go back,
I think
I'm
we-
trying to remember
Yeah.
what the difference is between
Yeah.
town Alta versus state code requirements.
We have a kind of Alta
Okay.
code that we adopted, I feel like,
But-
I know staff fills it out too. It's like the both of those.
But there was something in here, so it says that they're required to comply with the ethics and conflict of interest requirements.
Disclosures will be
And
reflected in the minutes,
disclosures,
yeah.
so whether or not they actually have to fill out the forms still.
Yeah.
Should be first.
Do we require the planning commission members to fill out the form?
They do.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think everyone
Required
does.
to.
Then that's the answer.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Good stuff.
I read through this, Chris, I didn't have any, I thought it looked.
I read through it too. And
I
think
thought
it's
it looked great,
nicely drafted.
Okay. Well, if you have any other input, we will put. I think that's a good one about the ethics that kind of came in at the last moment, I think, so, we need to just look at that with a microscope. And we'll have it in the packet next month. Hopefully it'll be a shorter packet, talk a little bit more about the packets later in the meeting, but,
the June
yeah,
one
so
is always large.
It is always-
They're both big.
It's always the biggest of the year, so, yeah, we'll have another opportunity to think about this and make sure it's right before we sign off on it.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely put this on the agenda, I'd be ready to vote on it.
Yep. Chris, I have another comment or two. Can you go back to your timeline slide?
We are here.
And so when I was treasurer, a question that Elise asked quite often is, what can we afford? And my answer on at least as it relates to the building stuff is we can afford whatever our citizens give us authorization to do as a bond. And accordingly, I think we need to get that kind of high level guidance out of the committee early, not late. So when I look at your design, so I mean, I think we need to proceed as fast as possible with the site condition, all that stuff that John Byrne raised, which I think is right. But on the design phase 2, I think we have to know approximately how much money they're going to recommend, because if we don't get the amount of money in the current proposals is going to require a very, very significant raise in the property tax. And I would like to hear the citizens' comments on that before we do too much more planning around that. Accordingly, we might, I sort of agree that we only need to meet every couple of months, but maybe for between now and the end of Q3, we need to meet more than that to get that kind of guidance early so that we're not delayed too much on the design phase 2.
I appreciate that. I think we need that information by the end of that program and site conditions project. I mean, that's a key goal of the next project, is to figure out the construction budget and.
Yep.
What good is a schematic that costs, it's likely to cost between X and Y dollars if there's no way that's gonna get funded. So, we'll also, hopefully as of next month, have this municipal advisor relationship in place. And, they're the folks who can help us really get down to the nitty gritty about what's a GO bond, what's a revenue bond, or at least revenue bond, and, you know, there are all of these various pathways we could take if we want a debt fund project, and, so, you know, they're gonna provide a much more coherent, you know, discussion for us on that, so.
What Greg is saying, we need a ceiling of how much we're gonna pay, how much we're gonna spend on this.
So,
I think what's great is that sounds like a great job for the town council liaison to the committee.
Do you?
I do.
Well, I do think what it implies is this, is that the agenda shouldn't be listings of topics. It should be a listing, I mean, we can do that. But in addition, I think we ought to have specific questions that we would like them to answer.
yeah,
Yes, and they should be shaped around requirements as we have been developing them over the retreats of the last.
Yeah.
2 terms.
Yep.
So that is the strategy that the town is adopting, basically.
And those, those requirements are mostly driven by the necessities of maintaining the public safety.
Right. Certainly essential.
Yeah.
1 minute to 4. Should I make a motion to adjourn the work session?
I second that.
All in favor?
Yes.
5-minute break.
1 minute break.
1 minute break.
1 minute. Yep, he has his hand
It has to
raised.
be a verbal, sorry, guys,
Oh.
verbal. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, we voted, we can vote without him
The
anyway.
law.
It is the law.
I'm sorry.
Why are you apologizing?
You should apologize. It's when you're remote. It is.
Oh, but-
Every time I'm remote, I remember it.
So, you know, they don't always have you know, sorry.
What else? Actually, don't make me not. I'm like, I'm hearing you. You're saying yes, raise my hand.
All right, well, we still have 3 bars. So I'm just gonna go. Three bars?
I won't be in the witness.
No. 3 bars. Folks. No, it's only 3 bars. We're at the max. Yeah, it's this. Try to fix this.
They're under here.
That's.
And you don't put it right in between them. so they-
Yeah, no, you.
All right, let's keep this fun, repetitive. Criticization for it. To make it not more complicated, but even though it is more complicated.
Do you wanna pay?
Yes, it's a good loss.
Yes,
So well,
No, I was going
Yes.
That was actually, somebody was. Agenda, and I was like, it's. Just trying to.
She's like, this doesn't make it clear. I'm like, I know. Just tell it to steal it.
Do whatever we need to do to get this best letter.
Yeah. They've got like, it's like.
Did we lose somebody?
We lost, well, we can't,
Sorry, you're on.
the clerk's using, the clerk's department.
Planet itself,
Like, yeah, it is, it's big again.
the alignment of planets help the net.
I'm gonna mention that. You said the stars are aligned.
I said the stars, and then I said, and planets. I realized that we were talking about planets, so.
Well. Kind of lumped them together. What's why?
I'm not listening for it. It's just there all the time.
I think it was like, I don't know if you felt like it was kind of nuts in the first.
I don't think we weren't ready for it. You do have the same kind of work responsibilities. So
Yes. Yeah, let's, I mean, I do payroll every other week, smaller payroll, and then HR duties and other things that I do, like everything's just small. But it's just kind of like, I fill in for jobs, so. Alba runs it for you. So, normally like an instructional person would. That's my job, but this is the kind of year when you're like, year-end reconciliation.
Okay, let's get it going.
I help out with accounting, that's what I used for.
Like.
No.
Mondays, I did it for 2 weeks.
For outside for like 2 years.
It's got other stuff in that.
It'd be like 3 weeks.
You ready for that? It's good.
Yeah.
Summertime, I kind of.
I thought you were controlling it.
There's a couple like HR stuff that I'll do, like I'll do some 99.
Are you ready?
All right.
Ready?
Stand
So I'm the band's ready. We're good. I'm ready. Okay. I'd like to call to order the town council meeting of June 17th, 2026. Cody, Maren, Rosie, Carmen, Mike, Mark, and Margaret. Yeah. So welcome all, and we'll start with a statement from the budget officer, who's
Ready?
Jen. I'm ready.
So Jen Clancy, town clerk. I am making the statement that the FY 27 interim general fund budget includes a proposed property tax rate increase according to Utah Code 59299194. That the town of Alta is considering levying a tax rate that exceeds the fiscal year entity's certified tax rate. The approximate dollar of the amount and purpose of an additional ad valorem tax revenue that would be generated by the property tax rate increase described in A above is $100,000 for the purposes of the property tax impact schedule, which includes wage increases, employee insurance benefits, Central Wasatch Commission contribution, resort shuttle costs, implementing the civil code enforcement program, purchasing building permit software, and legal expenses associated with building inspections. The approximate percentage of ad valorem tax revenue for the town of Alta, based on the proposed tax rate increase, is about 23%. And if the town of Alta proceeds with the proposed tax increase, the town of Alta will provide notice of and conduct a public hearing as required by Utah State Code, and at which members of the public will have an opportunity to provide comments on the proposed tax rate increase. This truth and taxation hearing is scheduled for Tuesday, August 11th, 2026 at 6 p.m. at the Alta Post Office Building, this location here, at 10351 East Highway 210, Alta, Utah. And we'll have an opportunity for those attending to participate either in person, or we'll have a virtual option as well.
Yeah, I think you said 23%.
Yeah, it says.
But it says 25%.
It does. That was before I
Okay.
ran all the calculations and did all the numbers. It's actually 22.56.
Okay.
So that's what I said about.
Approximately 20. Okay, got it.
That was good, sorry.
No, thank you
Glad
for
I
catching
do.
that. I highlighted on mine, so.
All right. So now we go to the presentation of the property tax impact scheduled by the budget office.
Yes, and Brooke is going to bring that up. No, the property tax impact schedule. So this is the schedule here. I have placed copies of the property tax impact schedule at the front of the room for those walking in next to the agenda. We have also placed it on the town's website in 3 different locations. On the homepage, also on the finance page of the town, and then also as a separate document associated with this meeting on the website. So the town's current tax rate, or the 2025, I should say, tax rate was 0.00834, and we are proposing to increase that to 0.000979. So I think and it's $100,000 property tax revenue increase. That represents a 22.56 estimated property tax revenue. And then the change, I think what most people are interested in is how is this gonna change my tax bill, right? So the average residential property value in Alta in 2026 is 1.7 million. And so for that change, right, someone that classifies with the residential exemption, it's going to increase your property taxes by $176.71. If you don't have the property tax exemption or your business, that same amount is going to, or that increase will be $321. And then below that on the property tax schedule, we have included a list of, I want to say it's 15 items where if the town council does not approve the property tax rate increase, these are the budget items that will cut. And so the way we think about these is these are all kind of in addition to the base is how I was thinking it. So this includes wage increases, this includes probably should I go literally through each one of these points, explain it, or is just presenting it? You just need to present it. So I'm summarizing. And so the Central Wasatch Commission increase, for instance, we've typically been paying them 15,000 for the last 10 years, and they've asked us to increase that to 25. So that's going to increase the base amount for that. And I'm happy to answer any questions about any of these specific items.
I like the way this was presented. I think it was very, very clear and helpful.
Helpful or hopeful?
Nothing wrong with being aspirational.
Yeah. Hey. Greg, is that your hand up to speak? Or
No,
is that
no,
just?
no, that's just my pen. Mhm.
Yeah, all right. Any comments by? Elisa? Yeah, all right. In that case, I think I'm sick.
No, we're on number 4 now.
We're, oh. All right, property tax impact schedule is a separate item on the agenda, is available for public as a separate document from other budget documents, and printed copies are available from the public.
And this is just, we've already kind of said that, but this is specifically on the agenda to comply with truth and taxation requirements. So thank you for reading that.
Okay, so item 5 is presentation of the proposed FY27 interim general fund budget.
I guess I'll stand up now. Chris and I, when he returns, we're gonna present this together. This is a very similar presentation to what we've presented in the past, but there are a couple new changes, and it's the version that I'm gonna go through today has some updates that were not included in the packet that went out.
Sure.
So Rebecca, here. You ready?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Okay, so we just wanted to kind of start off our budget presentation with highlighting what there's really two kind of key decisions that are going to be made today that both affect the general fund budget. So if you'll recall from before, the next slide speaks to this, but the town of Alta has 4 budgets that we have to balance: the general fund, the water fund, the sewer, and the capital project. So in the general fund, big decisions today are going to be, do we want to move forward with the property tax revenue increase of $100,000 and going through truth and taxation and bringing that forward to the August meeting? And also, do we want to adopt the municipal transient room tax? And so in order to adopt the municipal transient room tax, we do have an ordinance on the agenda for today's meeting. And there's also public comment that we'll have here in a couple minutes after we go through the budget presentation.
Yeah, so I wanna give Jen some credit for putting in really a tremendous amount of work to we essentially have. What, 3 or 4 different general fund budget iterations?
I have 4.
Yeah, so we literally. Yeah, 4 different general fund budgets, and I think we have to create 2 under the new truth and taxation guidelines, but. Just, you know, given the conversation that ensued about the transit tax, which was foreseeable, of course, we worked up some explicit expense modifications. And then fleshed those out into complete interim budgets. If that's the right term.
They're alternatives.
Or alternative budgets, yeah, whether they're interim or tentative, for your consideration, so we have some details on that. Later in the slide, and we'll just say for now that, you know, those are merely suggestions. For expense adjustments, that we can make, and we could certainly go in other directions, but. Yeah, I mean, the other key decision, of course, that we have to adopt a budget, so, you know, we do have to make a decision on both those items, and then we have to make a decision. We could decide to do neither of those. The revenue increases we're talking about, but we still have to adopt. An interim. You have to do a budget, and I guess we'll decide what kind of budget it is based
So
on.
let's call it interim, because that
Yeah.
makes it.
So that's what it's called, that's the
Yes.
legislative
Yeah.
mandated, you're gonna have it in.
Whether it includes truth and taxation or not, we're
Right.
gonna call it the interim judge. So this, I kind of already hit on this, the main point of this slide is just kind of explaining to everyone that we have 4 different funds that we're all trying.
Can you go back one,
Yeah.
to make sure? So really what we're looking at, the project X revenue, that's 2026 018. It doesn't say it up there, but that's what it is. That's the resolution that would go with this one.
There's, for the property tax revenue, there's actually a series, I think there's like 3 resolutions.
Okay.
I'll have those in.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so
Sorry.
there'll be a series, and depending on how you, then we'll cue you in. Based off like kind of the first decision point.
Yep.
So the 4 funds, we're gonna just do a truncated version of this presentation since few folks have already seen it, but we also, there might be new members of the public in the audience to go through this for their benefit. This is a programmatic view, so we're gonna go through, just to give kind of an orientation, we're gonna go through the full town budget, including all of the 4 funds, and then we will siphon off into looking at each fund individually. So this is I think the chart on the right in the different colors, you know, our big expense here at the town is our employees. And then depending on the year and what we have on the slate, the capital improvement projects, also can carry a chart with them from year to year. And then this is revenue, and you know, I think we're all aware that sales tax is really the biggest aspect of the town's revenue. But these are all various sources of revenue. Sewer fund, water fund, we have various taxes and fees. Property tax is, you know, proposed to be 12% of the revenue if we were to go forward with that. Through taxation. So the general fund specifically, and this is specific where the questions about the property tax increase and the transit municipal road tax, those 2 questions are within the general fund budget discussion. Okay. So this slide talks about, we wanted to focus on what are the things that we're proposing to change this year, and then what is new in the budget. So proposed changes, the increase to the Central Wasatch Commission contribution that we make, the increase to the resort shuttle, which we have in our contract, an 8% annual, an up to 8% annual increase that can happen, so we wanted to make sure we budget for that. The contract planner, we have it at 0, but why do we put that on this slide?
Well, we put it in the slide because I think we just wanted to draw attention to it. I mean, it's not a new increase, but it is. Well, I don't want to describe it as elective. It's this would be the third fiscal year in which we funded it, and it was not originally intended as an ongoing expense. But, you know, I think we've talked enough about all of the massive backlog of maintenance that we need to perform on our land use regulations and our general plan. Our plan review process and the services of a land use planner. You know, just continuing to have those available to us would be a benefit for sure. So I think we put it at 0 because it's not an increase over the FY26 budget.
And then we're proposing to dissolve the impact fee program, so that would be kind of cashing out on that, if that's a good way to frame it. And then the wages within the general fund, we're proposing a 3% COLA to town staff. And so that's across all departments. The effect of the budget is at $41,000. And then new programs this year are the Chris and Molly got a grant from the Wasatch Front Regional Council to do a general plan upgrade. Our portion of that is $20,000. And then they're putting in 120.
That's right, yeah, and that's just a one-time thing, so.
So great opportunity for the town to proceed with the general fund update.
Well done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not you over there, the quiet one,
What did I do?
something good.
And then we have the Grizzly Gulch Trailhead restroom that is moving forward, and I think they broken ground.
Oh, have they? Yeah.
Cool.
I'll talk to that.
So we'll support that. We've told Sierra that we would support them with some O&M costs, so that's to be figured out later, but we wanted to plug in some numbers for the budget so that we were kind of prepared for that. And then we had a meeting with OLS earlier today, but the bringing up Our Lady of the Snows online here and the expenses associated with that facility. We went over this already. I'm gonna skip forward. Like Marshall succession planning. So in the proposed interim budget for FY27, we have included hiring Mike's successor in the last quarter of fiscal year 27. And so I do want to point out that, you know, that because that's just a single quarter, we have onboarding expenses that are included in the FY27, including the it's $27,000 in wages, but the full budget, including like a truck and armor and all computer and all the things that you need, we have included $111,000 in this budget for that.
And the duration of the overlap is 9 months, is that correct?
A
Or 1
year.
1 year,
But
okay,
we're
1 year.
roughly a year what we're kind of working on.
Okay.
Cause. Yeah, Mike, do you want to speak?
Sure. I'll
Uh,
add to a
now?
otherwise short meeting planned for the evening. Yeah. So. Last little while.
Makes me laugh, if anything, I'm just saying.
You know, I've been really racking my soul over the arrogance of telling you all, we think this is gonna take a year and change to replace me. That's a pretty arrogant thing to say. You know,
I think it's arrogant, I think it's smart.
Yeah, I think
you know, it's typical in, you know, many fields to expect to have a fully qualified candidate, that's why you're hiring them. Bring them in, teach them a couple of useful tidbits, give them the keys to the city, pat them on the back and say good luck. We're not asking for this out of a void, we've done some real soul searching on you know, I read a lot of Dan Schilling's work and, you know, it's pretty gut wrenching, but there is one book that bothers me more, and I brought it with me today. It's police liability.
What that?
It's written by a guy who just scares me to death, Matt Golan. You'd expect that this to be full of use of force, police pursuits, you know, don't get on people's necks like we all found out, you know, through historical events. What this book deals with almost exclusively is the people that make up a police department. How to select them, how to retain them, how to train them, how to hold them to standards, how to impart knowledge to them. And even a little bit of succession planning. There's a page that the author shows early in the book. In 1829, a gentleman named Sir Robert Peel developed the 9 principles of policing, and the others developed, you know, turned into Scotland Yard and, you know, the lobbies and all that. But of his 9 principles, number 2 stands out, and it says, for the police to exist, and for the ability of the police to perform their duties is dependent upon public approval of police actions. And, you know, so what does that mean is we as your police cannot exist without your consent to do policing. You have to approve of us enforcing the laws, the manners that we enforce the law, the people that we choose to enforce the law. That all has to happen with the consent of the community that we serve. And so principle number 2 really underscores why we feel this needs to be done in a certain time frame. It's not just about teaching somebody the tricks of the trade. We've been working for some time now on cultivating some relationships that we think are going to position us well in the spring of 2027 to have some very, very viable candidates for my job. It's not an open-ended window. We know when our opportunities are likely to be present. We don't want to squander those. We want to be in a position to make a smart decision if the right opportunity is there when we think that it's going to be. I feel strongly that we're on the right track with that kind of planning. People drive me nuts with, you know, we got to get what's in Mike's head into a book. Jesus, be careful what you ask for. There's a lot of stuff in there that maybe you don't want to hear. But you know, it's more than just, you know, how do we do an FCC renewal, or how do we handle our database, what contracts are we responsible for? All of those things are going to take time. There's a lot of things, honestly, I have done or tried to do, and I've just really been winging it. You know, we pick a course that we think is the right thing to do. We stick with it. We try and preserve what knowledge we learned from it. There's been little opportunity to formalize any of that. We've got a half-prepared policy manual, which is huge liability. That I honestly won't get across the finish line unless I have some help, some long-term help. And I would say that's a fair statement for many of the other programs that we manage. So I guess I wanted to just tell you what's behind my arrogance. I think it's going to take that amount of time to get a new person that you all consent to ready to perform at the standards you're used to.
Well, the one thing I will take issue with is this is not a statement of arrogance. This is a statement of humility.
Yeah, I thought we were kind of making a motion. I second what Lee said, and like, you'll strike that from your lexicon from here.
So honest to God, folks, if I could think of a way to do this in 6 months or 3 months, that's what we'd be pitching. That we think this is the right time and the right budget to ask for. Thanks.
So I support you 100% in that, just as a matter of my position on the council, but I want to add two things I think are really, really important at this juncture. It's the evolution of public safety, of which law enforcement and policing is a subset, by the way, right? As we all know. And, you know, we've seen just in my time here, increase in requirements to service things because of the increased pressure and the complexity of what you're dealing with. The kinds of investigations that we've never done in the town before are gonna be part of our fabric from here on out. All that combines back to our legal counsel because there's risk involved if we are not doing that right to the town, the litigation, also loss of life or them. And I think those things are really important. Setting aside Peel, the Pommy, but the reason I think this is important and I support you is my expectation of the incoming man or woman who's going to replace you is that they are bringing better skill sets than you have, in the sense that they have an understanding of the complexities that are coming, that we have to develop into. To your point of, do we have a policy and everything in place? You're not going to maybe get that across the goal line. You need to get it as far as you can. That's your responsibility. But my expectation of this person, they have to be better and bigger because that's what's coming for the town. And so I think that's why I think the collaboration of you guys between budget, town management leadership, the mayor, in your office is really paying dividends because it's buying down risk. And the problem with that kind of risk is you can't quantify it because when you avoid it, nothing happens. That's the only way you know you're successful is when nothing happens. And so we need to keep doing that because nothing has happened.
That's actually premise number 8.
Yeah, but you got it. I would say, anyway, thanks, Mike. I think that's really well put.
Plus the improvement planning and everything that's just
Absolutely.
terrifying.
And we should use that picture more often.
Yes.
All right, Roger, now I'm actually raising my hand.
Oh, you go.
So let me, you made the comment that you didn't think it was arrogance. I agree it's not arrogance, but I'd rephrase it to say it's very subtle. It's very easy to pass on a policy manual. That stuff's written out. That stuff is easy. What's very, very hard to pass on is the right culture. And I think because it's subtle and you need lots of exposure to it in order to incorporate it and maintain it. I think Mike has done a superlative job of instilling the right culture in our public safety officers. In an era where some people are talking about defunding the police, and there's lots of animosity between those that are being enforced and the enforcers. We have completely avoided that in the town of Alta. That to me is the essential culture, and that's what we really need to pass on. And that's why I think that Mike actually needs that long overlap period that he has asked for.
Any more accolades?
I just want to say the way you I've not heard you describe the policy manual as a co-work project with this person over that period. But it makes me think about how we've always wanted to get some pure admin time out of Mike. And it's not that he's dragging his feet, it's that he has patrol duties. And so the hay that we could make, and we sort of brought on a 5th officer. Now,
which is why we
less
did that.
likely, right now, we're less likely to have one cop on at a time. But we don't really have dedicated admin time. We have a little bit more. So we're gonna have whatever period of overlap we can afford and then manage to implement. But then once Mike retires, we're gonna lose that. So we're gonna be back in a department that sort of, will always have an increasing administrative burden, always be limited on FTEs. So it really could be a tremendous opportunity to buy down that risk.
Every day it's 3 cops too many or 6 too few. No, because that's a Mike Moriism.
Is it?
Yeah. Alta, 1 cop on duty is 3 too many or 6 too few, and it's become one of my little mantras.
I see.
It's the burden of being a town where nothing's happening sometimes, and then when something happens, it's a lot.
yeah. I kind of lost track of where we
We're
are.
in the middle of the budget. We're in the middle.
We're 7, it's 5, number 5.
Right.
So specifically to the general fund,
We got-
programmatic changes to the revenue side of the budget include, again, we're gonna talk about this a lot, but the property tax revenue increase and the imposed transient room tax increase. We are budgeting, even with these increases, we are also budgeting to use $240,000 of cash on hand to balance the budget. And we will, if we do decide to move forward in this direction, we will, if we dissolve the impact fee program, we will have no new revenue there. This is a summary slide from the property tax impact schedule, which I have already gone over, so I'm gonna skip over this slide. And then this is a very similar information, but it's a department FY 26 and 27. You can see on the bottom right, the difference, the number there is 208,000 for the key impact, but I think it's the best way if you want to dive into this information is to go to the property tax impact schedule. I have a summary up above on the sheet, but we've talked about those things. The imposing the transient room tax, and I see we have a couple of people in the room today. That I think we're gonna hear from in a bit on how this might affect them. I think we want to go into, I think the council wants to go into a decision like this, weighing all sides. Of this conversation, staff is proposing to impose the transient room tax. It would bring the total rate from 15.12 to 16.12. That would make us the second largest in the state of transient room tax. It's a 1% increase, but that's the total that we get charged on the bills. I'm estimating that the revenue is that will be generated from imposing this tax to be about $200,000. Chris, do you have anything to add to this?
No, I think we will have more opportunities to discuss this. I mean, we worked up, some expense adjustments to contemplate. And we could talk a little bit more about those.
Those are actually right here. Great segue. So if the transient room tax is not approved, this is how we would adjust the budget to zero it out. So we would take the $200,000 off of the sales and use tax. We would also.
And these are ways we would propose, so.
Yes, excuse me, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so this is staff's proposal on how to balance the budget if that doesn't go through today. We just wanted to be ready in case that ordinance does not pass, so that we could pass a budget that balances and contemplates this. So the one of the things that we are talking about, I don't know if concession is the right word, but is if we impose the transient, if you impose the transient room tax, then we would not ask for the voluntary shuttle contributions. And so the $50,000 there is money from UTA. If you don't pass this, then we would add the 84,000, I think it's 84, back to the budget for revenue, and we would be asking for those voluntary contributions. It would also slightly adjust the amount of use of cash on hand on the revenue side of things, only it's at $4,000, so not much. And then on the expense side of things that we would cut would be the business license study this year. We would also cut the Alta Resort Shuttle Program. Probably we would need to cut it by 20%. We could reduce the contract planner by $20,000, and we could hold off on hiring the Mike's successor until the following quarter if need be. So these are all options for you to consider.
Now, one way to look at this, I think, is that we would no longer get the voluntary contributions toward the town shuttle for what it was, what, 84K. And part of that is being made up by the transit room tax.
For them.
Yeah, but 84K of the 200K in the transit room tax would essentially balance this out with the absence of those voluntary contributions.
This is just a slide, it goes more into more detail on how specifically we would reduce, the shuttle's cost, is that 20%. About.
And yeah, you know, we could slice this any number of ways. The easiest thing to do is cut the night shuttle, that's all right. So that, yeah, you cut the night shuttle, that's. You know, that's the easiest thing to, that's the most contiguous element of the service program that we could do without, and then we'd sort of have to nip and tuck the daytime shuttle service program. You know, I've frankly, since the town took over the program, wanted to move away from collecting the voluntary contributions. I mean, I totally accept that lodges will collect and remit more transit room tax than they're contributing, and so may short-term rental operators. It just, you know, there's an administrative burden to collecting the revenues. It's uncertain because people contribute whenever they want, and this year they contributed what they asked for. So it doesn't give us a great sort of depth of field in projecting what we can, the service that we can provide. And it's just, you know, an around town, you know, mobility, transportation or transit option is a common thing that ski towns fund. I'm not aware of ski towns, you know, holding out the hat in the aisle for contributions. I don't mean that that's a sort of insulting, so I regret saying that, but just not a sustainable way to fund a public service for it to be voluntary. And so if we want to offer the shuttle, we think we should fund it. There are other threats to sustainability of that program. But so long as we have specifically the vendor that the only vendor that's ever been used to provide it. That's not reliant, but you know, we can add it back in. You can also not add it back in and cut the program by another 84,000, but it may reach a point where the vendor doesn't, it's not worth it for the vendor anymore, so.
And then we're proposing to dissolve the impact fee program for the town of Alta, you know, for the main reasons of that it carries a very heavy administrative burden, and you are required to have various studies that you have to update it every 6 years, and you know, you can't use it to fund efficiencies. You can only use it to fund, I want to say upgrades, but that's not the right word.
No, it's
New
continue
growth.
the level of service, to maintain the level of service as
Right.
growth occurs.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's very little growth.
Yeah.
And we like it that way.
Capital projects fund.
Yeah, no changes to the capital projects plan for next year. You know, the big items are 100K for you know, architectural feasibility study and then building right here where the post office building is. We've got $100,000 number there for the Tumwater stabilization project. We really only know what cost estimator thinks it would cost to sort of button that thing up and keep it from falling apart further. Maybe add an interpreter sign. We have something like 20K in the capital projects plan now. And we think we are finally on to essentially a contracting method to engage a design professional to help us come up with a basic design for the reinforcement, but also a construction plan. So anyway, more on that when we understand a little bit better.
Are we gonna do Alpha Central roof this stuff?
That's installed.
The safety stuff?
Yeah.
We did that last
Yep,
week.
Yeah, we did
Oh,
that. So
okay.
we've got new, safety bollards up there, so we're not relying on like a 30-year-old climbing rope to, keep it from falling off that sloped metal roof. Oh, cool, we're right down into an outage. As it were, so, anyway. Where was I? RFP for design feasibility at OLS, so we need to redesign the stairs and patio, that's gonna trigger building code and ADA, and there's some other things we could contemplate, Did we not decide to recommend cutting the minor improvements to OLS in either of the expense adjustments?
I didn't have to do that,
Okay,
but.
good.
we can keep that in.
Yeah, good. Yes, the cops, we've got some capital expenses in the police department, you know, we sort of roll over our trucks routinely and we've got one that is ready for resale.
You say we roll over our trucks?
This-
No,
That's been a while. Yeah, I know.
Sorry.
This truck specifically is for the, if we, I didn't want to start here, but then, Maury's truck is next in line for that.
Right. Oh, our water and sewer capital projects, we are planning to complete the Crossdale water line project all. Remote meters, we're gonna think about that, we're down to the complicated ones, This sewer project, it's looking less likely that we're gonna implement that project this year. When we took proposals, I hope you didn't read the engineering contract, but if you did, you would see that we asked for the indication that you could complete a design for that Wildcat lot for sewer line replacement. Immediately upon starting with us, so we do have budget. We have budget to fund the design, and it's looking like it's as far as we'll get this year, and then we do have capital expense in the plan as well, so that we can start the project, ideally next spring. We got the new building in there, $3 million per fiscal year over 3 years. That hasn't changed in a couple capital planning cycles.
Water fund, we are proposing to raise increase, but our rate increases by 9%. We've talked about this a fair bit, but that's just to support the ongoing operations. So, I mean, main factors involve, staff increases, vendor contracts to. No major changes to anything, but just those small incremental changes.
Do you think though that we should highlight the budgeting for infrastructure replacement?
Oh, yes, and so that, right, so we're budgeting 50,000 for that. Wanna make sure I didn't change that over here.
Well, my only point is that, the town is not budgeted for infrastructure replacement.
Yeah.
Which is absurd and deeply problematic, and it put us in a tough spot. So, not only do we have a largely 56-year-old water system, but the water system doesn't perform adequately in several key ways. So part of the, rates have been going up for water and sewer. If we basically have no choice but to raise water and sewer rates steadily for however many years in the future in order to continue operating a water and sewer system in Alta. So yes, hopefully we don't spend down that 50K on infrastructure replacement next year on leak repair.
Yeah.
But we could. We very well could.
Actually, I'll highlight the single, I think most people are interested in how this will affect their bill. It's single family residence, because that's an ECU value of 1.25. Their monthly bill will go from 57 to 174. Then the sewer fund, we have a 10% increase here. Again, pass through cost and fund would include a district on this one, and then we have the $13,000 in this for infrastructure replacement. I am trying really hard to not propose anything to you over 10% price funds, so that's why that number is not any higher than it is, because we have to have a water rate increase, so,
Can I have a question?
yeah.
Who is it? How, H-U?
And
That's,
Tom Lewis was the engineer that did the master plan.
Okay.
And that's essentially like the annual, that's the total system replacement cost divided by 30.
Yes,
And that's a common way of,
I remember that, I just couldn't remember who H-U was.
and so for a single family resident. Go from 133 to 146 per month. What's supposed to be sewer connection?
yes, well, the sewers breaking, sewer breaking, right? That sounds bad. The restroom project with the team's broken ground on the restroom project. One element of getting across the finish line was getting the sewer line extension to restroom approved by Cotton Improvement District so that it could function as a municipal sewer main line, and that took some doing, so I'm really glad that we're past that. We spent money earlier in the fiscal year on the first phase of it, which was essentially to get it across the parking lot to cold storage, the cold storage building, and we're spending an additional amount of money towards the end of the fiscal year now to complete. And we anticipate this is going to be the extent of the town's expense in the construction of any sewer lines in the area, but it is per the design gonna be able to function as a sewer main to the West Grizzly area
In time.
in time. And that is not the alignment, that on the map is just for illustration purposes, we should probably find a new exhibit, but.
Yeah.
Some pretty pictures.
So that's gonna be the end of our presentation. I kind of just wanted to walk everybody really quickly through kind of like the next couple steps in the meeting so that everybody kind of understands how this is gonna go. We have public hearings. Brooke is gonna put the public hearings up on the screen so that we can kind of all follow along to the specific things that we have. The conversations from, I think Chris and I are happy to answer questions now about the budget presentation, or we can hold them until after you hear from the public, and then we can have them contained within the agenda.
Let's do it
Let's
that
do
way.
that.
Okay. So
So with that,
we're done if you don't have any questions for us.
Well, procedurally going forward, is it possible, as I understand Sandy City does this, to rather than list out public hearings and start them and stop them, that we can combine them and then the whole agenda, people can pull from that menu for comments and it might expedite?
Well, so we actually have kind of made a transition, so we used to hold our public hearings before our regular meetings started. Now we've embedded them, so we won't, I mean, yes, we will start and stop them. But I think we have to give the public a designated opportunity to speak on a
Very
specific
specific topic.
item. And then later, if you make a decision,
I withdraw my observation.
that makes sense, so I think we want to we'll go through this list of opportunities, so. There were agendas up here, I'm not sure who all wants to make comment, but I'll let Roger start.
so I'd like to open a public hearing to receive public comment on the proposed Alta Special District budget of $0 and certified tax rate of 0. Are there anyone from the public want to comment on that? Okay. I want to close that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, excuse me, Mark.
You wanna comment about the special?
This is item with the 0 budget? Yeah,
Yes.
all right, go.
I don't recall the first year that it was put into place, but I believe it was the mid to late eighties. And it was special service districts are created to provide municipal services to real property taxpayers. This particular service district went unremarked for, I believe it was about 20 years. until I put in a grammar request for the budget and the minutes of board meetings, and then it came to light that there had never been any board meetings and there had never been any budgets. At the time that it came up, then on advice of council, they said, well, we could keep this in place and we could do so by just having a zero budget and keep the entity in place. Now, with the time that that occurred, people were advocating for getting sewer to properties that have not had sewer provided to them, as well as fire protection, water, municipal water service, etc. Now, here we are, and it's probably been, I wanna say that occurred the late aughts, 8, 9, or 10, somewhere in there. So now we're 16 years in of a service district that has a zero budget and some 30 or 40 years into having a service area that has provided no benefit to the taxpayers. I would advocate that right now, last December, Mr. Draper was in here lamenting that, with the new wildland fire protection regulations that have come into being, that a lot of people in the town of Alta are going to experience very high insurance rates due to the circumstances of the fire protection available. I would advocate that in the future that we get a budget for this service district and make a plan to provide services to real property taxpayers that are currently paying taxes and are not served by sewer, water, fire protection. And that it would be a good thing to do for the future, because as the staff has noted, due to the deferred maintenance and the lack of set aside for either maintenance, capital, infrastructure investment, that's gone on for some 50 years. And the shortages of money, taxpayers' money to provide services in the town is gonna be a difficult sell, and it's gonna have to be in a lot bigger number. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Mark. Any other comments on this budget element? So we don't have to vote to close the hearing, do we? All right, so let's go to the public hearing to receive comments on the proposed FY26 final budgets for the general fund, capital project fund, water fund, and sewer fund.
Is there any specific public hearing or public comment opportunity, like entitled related to transit tax?
No, I think we want to do that, I should have said that in the interim 27 budget, which is the next public hearing.
Got it. Okay, so that's the final budget, yeah, never mind.
Yeah, this is for the current year.
For the year.
Yeah,
we just did.
I think we're gonna, I'd like to hear
Okay, so we're on the second of these two now. Having to do with the,
as stated by you.
yeah, capital fund, water fund, and sewer.
Which is stated when it's-
Hearing no comments on that. Excuse me. I'd like to open a public hearing to receive public comment on the proposed fiscal 27 interim general fund budget.
Which includes the proposed property tax revenue increase of $100,000 and the transit road tax. So anybody wanted to comment on that?
Rosie? Yeah.
Well, first and foremost, I really appreciate all the hard work that's been put into the budget and explaining everything for 2027. And I kind of want to reiterate my comments from last month. I feel that the proposed 1% transient room tax puts an undue hardship on the lodging and the lodging properties and also the condos and everything in comparison to our competitors, just down the road at Snowbird and also at Park City. We too are paying property taxes and we'll have that increase. But I remember a comment from last month where it was the majority of the homeowners here are second homeowners. And from the information that we've received here is it looks like they're gonna pay $176 more annually property taxes.
That's only if they're residents,
Residents.
yeah.
Otherwise, it's 213, I think.
And that's
Yeah.
1.7 million
Yeah,
in
yeah.
demolition.
Yes,
So I know that's not the lump sum, but that's the increase. When you put that in perspective to a lodging stay, right now, it is, if you go off a $500 a night stay. Over 5 nights, a guest is paying over $400 in taxes for that stay. It's pretty significant. And that's for the dining and the lodging taxes together. So it's not just $5 or 1%, it's a lot and it means a lot. And so we're hit with increased property taxes. We're hit with struggling with inflation, just like you guys are to take care of business. And so it creates an kind of an imbalance in how we can do things because we can't just say, well, we're struggling with inflation, we have to raise our rates X amount because inflation went up this much. But we're also passing on that and the increased taxes to our guests. So I just want to kind of put that in perspective. It is significant to our guests, and it creates a challenge, a hardship for lodging properties to find that balance because no matter what you say, at the end of the line, when you're quoting your rate, which has become so much, there's an emphasis to make it so much more transparent at the time of the sale, so at the time of the booking, we have to quote the lodging rate and then the lodging rate with taxes. People get a huge sticker shock, and the tax is a huge part of that. So just kind of wanted to let you know that, and then I also wanted to, if I can pose a question, when we're talking about these funds going to the town shuttle. The town shuttle, we support because we're trying to support the community. But to be perfectly frank, it is not a component of our business. It is not something that we rely on. It's not really a form of our business model because we're set up, given the way the town is, the avalanche of all of that in our lodge, that everything is basically contained within the Alta Lodge for your stay. And I have a feeling for most of the lodges up here, we follow under the same model. So we're contributing to that. But as we're talking about UDOT kind of replacing UTA in the upcoming years, I was wondering if there has been any consideration or any discussion with UDOT on we're getting funds from UTA, but what will that look like when UTA is phased out of the county? So that was just another thought that I had that I'm hoping is going to be taken into consideration, as there's so much of these taxes are looking to replace that town shuttle. Have we explored that option in the future? So, thank you.
Thank you.
any other comments? Yeah, Mike, oh no, there.
Just sort of point of reference is we monitor all the feedback we get from all the publications that are, of course, talking about Alta and the Alta community. But Alta, one of the things we consistently are seeing, the skiing's great and everything, but it's one of the most expensive places to stay in the industry. It's a little King. Just kind of tagging on to what Rosie brought up and that sticker shock for some of those customers, but that vibe is out there, just so you're aware.
Can we ask phone questions back? Let's go to
We should probably not do it right now.
Maybe during that resolution topic, but yeah.
It's up to you, it's up to the council, I mean, it's during.
Well, I want to ask questions, so it's up to me. I'm gonna ask them. If that's okay.
Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Rosie, for your facility, and I understand collectively you have a sense of the others. is there a sense of transitioning down Canyon to like Airbnbs instead of things for alternatives because they think they're cost savings? You get trends like that in the spirit of what you're talking about here. And yeah, and for you guys to track that somehow also with some data, I'm looking for proof. I'm just like, I'm assuming this is something that you've seen.
Well,
That gives weight to what you shared with us, and
Yeah.
it's really important to hear what you guys are experiencing.
yeah, I mean, it's hard to track, but obviously. You know, Utah's been discovered, and you have a lot of people that are calling and they're calling around for rates and they're checking. Everything's at our fingertips, right? I can check online how much it stays at Snowbird, Park City, Airbnb, everything like that. So, and we also have a different business model here than most resorts in that the outfit tradition for most of the properties up here include breakfast and dinner. So
Right.
there's a food piece in there, so it already makes our rates look higher. But it's not just the base value, when we add the tax on top of that, that's where it's just like huge sticker shock. And the taxes have gone up 20% in the past, probably 10 years or so. A lot, significantly, so it is difficult to manage that, and people, and first of all, to sell the model that we offer here, I mean, it's great, but to get people to understand that, and then once you tack on the tax, it's a big deal. So. If I can respond, one thing that I was meant to ask is, you know, would you consider kicking the can down the road, you know, as we're dealing with rebounding from last winter and the current economy, that's just another consideration.
Are the meals included in your transit?
The meals, they don't get the lodging tax, they don't get the transient room tax, they get the sales tax.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
But it's a
yeah,
percent higher than regular sales tax, it's percent higher, it's 10.05 right now on the dime.
You know, I have seen, it's all anecdotal looking science, but you know, I think many of us have seen an increase on chair lifts. People are like, oh, I drove up from Park City. Driven by snow, usually, because I don't have any over there. But you know, I just assume in the spirit of what you're sharing that you probably see some of that perhaps as well. Thanks for the info.
Thanks for the question.
okay, any other comments on? The general budget? Okay. I'll move to public hearing to receive public comment on proposed FY22 budgets for the capital project fund, water fund and sewer fund. Okay, hearing none. Let's have a public hearing to receive public comment, regarding the ordinance 2026-0-8 setting the compensation for elected and statutory officers. Now, let me say that I don't think you really addressed this, but elected officers would have 0 increases. No decreases too. But
Town council and the outspending commissioner.
yes. Are there and I think that's it, isn't it? Or is that, you wanna say something more about that?
Well, it also, that
We
ordinance
covered it.
also includes, like key staff
Key staff.
personnel. So if with the COLA increase, anytime you're changing a salary, or say the town clerk, you need to update this ordinance. And there is a proposed change. with
With the 3% COLA.
It's appointed and elected.
And certain other positions that
Right,
find.
so it also includes our attorneys and, yeah.
Well, attorney's not salary, geez,
Yeah,
It's
it's
in the-
listed on in this ordinance if you.
It's in the ordinance when you look at it.
I see.
And how staff,
Those are not changing, sorry.
right, and staff has been very conservative by putting into that document just everyone's set, like whether or not it's increasing or decreasing.
I just include everybody every time, whether it's changing or not changing, but the changes are mainly for staff,
Right,
we'll say.
okay, any public comments on those expenditures for budgets. All right, and that's will close the item 10 and go to citizen input. Mark?
Okay, yes. Mark Hay. Earlier this spring, Miss Morgan, I don't remember the exact discussion, but she expressed the notion that she had a very high regard for the experts that had advised the town over time. Then in the citizen engagement exercise that took place in May, the first speaker stood up and basically said, well, why has there been no set aside or for capital reinvestment and ongoing maintenance over what is apparently a very long period of time that put us in this circumstance of the deficit required to upgrade all these things. Then the idea came up that we should have some citizen advisory committee to advise the council on, you know, how to pursue some of these capital expenditures. At the time that that was raised, I suggested that Mr. Mon, Mrs. Burke, and myself be appointed to that committee, you know, because there's not much public participation in meetings in Alpha, having been a long time attendee. And so I would just note that, you know, now that this capital committee is coming to fruition, one of their tasks is to advise, you know, what's good for the taxpayers and focus on these capital projects. And it says in the charter that there's going to be a diversity of community members. Well, this community is rather divided. You have the portion of the community that's served by service area number 3. They would appear to be paying twice because their sewer and water is provided by another entity by which to tax. Instead of Snowbird, a lot of people are not served at all. And so then you know, those people are out there. Then there's the people on the committee that don't own real property, and hence the phrase "no skin in the game" comes to mind. In listening to the discussion here today, Mr. Highmark points out that the schedule is very ambitious, and what they really need to know is how much money are you guys going to approve so that we can have some idea on the extent of what improvements we can in fact pursue given the bond money. Well, having attended long attended all the planning meetings and council meetings in the town of Alva, the only person I can recognize by name or by face that's on the committee is Mr. Briggs. And I've met him once or twice, but I haven't seen him at a lot of meetings in this century, less than a handful, I would say. As to the rest of the people on the committee, the makeup of those people, well, if they're not real property taxpayers, hey, who doesn't want a new cop station? Who doesn't want a new roof? So I think Mr. Highmark also noted that, well, I don't want to drive the agenda on the committee. I want them to sort it out. But really, what you need to know by year end is what's the minimum we're going to get that you're going to approve. So I think that there's just an extraordinary amount of deferred maintenance and infrastructure replacement that has been gone on for literally decades. I think you have to have a look back and ask yourself. Who are the people that led us into this circumstance that we're gonna be confronted with? The other thing that I would note is, I don't think the price of money is going down, it's going up. And so there's gonna be. You're gonna have to go to the taxpayers very consistently. Have a good night.
All right, that's all in. Ms. Burke, would you like to make a public statement?
I'm Harper. I wanted to commend the town for the partnerships that have been evident this meeting and other meetings, and those partnerships with ACE regarding what happened with the facility at OLS and the partnership that was so evident in the work session that is working well for all parties, is what we were told today. And also the partnership that the town has with the ski area for the Grizzly bathroom, which is well underway, and by all accounts, we're gonna have it by the end of the year. And I think it's only through those kind of partnerships that we succeed. So thank you.
Any other public comments? Okay, we'll close the citizen input and go to Mike.
Afternoon.
There.
Oh, just a little update, Utah, is going to be down overall visit skiers this last year, down about 20% across the state. And for the year, we're down, about half of that, the ski area here. Last year, so the strength about of our snow and our snowpack and the quality that we were able to provide into the time we did was, we drew a lot of people, particularly at the end of this season. With, Park City, the rally going off, going fairly early. A lot of those visitors came this way. We had some exposure to Alza. And saw clothing and outfits we don't normally see. But, the good thing was people came, they had a great time, and people discovered Alta. I think, and had some of the lodging facilities here, it was first time for some of them, and I think some of them will be coming back. On the sales side, as we're looking into this next season, the Epics and the Icons and the Mountain Collective and most of the skiers in the state of Utah are all seeing downward trends, double-digit declines in season pass sales as of this point in time. Fortunately, we're not seeing that. We are even with last year, maybe a little bit above. As far as quantity and volume, it's early in the cycle. We're into the season pass sales cycle. We are seeing a shift from more expensive products to less expensive products. A little bit in that, as people are, I think, being a little bit more budget conscious given the economy and given the snowfall year. At the same time, I think because of we had a different year, didn't have a lot of powder skiing. We had a lot of great skiing still on our groomers, and people came and had fun. Well, I think people are hedging their bets a little bit and buying out the passes as a preferred place for the next year to come. So we're positively up. We're positive about next year, optimistic it may be a good season. And hopefully Mother Nature gives us snow a little earlier. One of the hardest parts last year was getting up and going. We were delayed 2 weeks, we get up and going. So if we can avoid that, that helps a lot. Summer Road, is final touches are being done on the final road for the grading and rolling and packing. The dust controls coming tomorrow, and now tomorrow's office is escorting those vehicles up, and we've got that word out. And we're looking at Saturday, the 20th, opening for the public is the current target. We're continuing to do work in the campground. We're adding ramps to the restrooms, so ADA ramps, so that you can access those restrooms with a wheelchair. We're adding 2 new campsites, taking a roof line, and one's now kind of just opening in the sun as a result of the Supreme Lift project. And so one of the mitigating factors with this Forest Service is that we would replace 13 campsites. Happy to report that the new lift alignment, people rode the left once and they forgot about those, but really quickly bend in it, so it's a very positive experience for a lot of people. Grizzly restroom project is underway. We're trying to get the sewer across the road and kind of into the ground, and before we get the campground open and the summer road open and have that traffic coming. But thank you to the town and the staff of the town for, everybody working together in a collaborative way to move this project forward. It's, when you recognize that it was just 6 months ago that this project was even conceived. It's been a lot of cooperation working together to make this work, and so we're glad that it's coming online and it's going to be a great building. Our storage building also got this, thank you to the town helping us working with our storage building. We're getting close. I think we have an inspection Monday. Got held up on getting some of the material for the outside of the building, but the building's pretty much done inside. And we're hoping to be able to start moving stuff in there. And applying the finishing touches on the outside of that building later. Work continues going on the Albion Day Lodge. We're looking at probably in the next week to week and a half, we'll start projects on the mountain, the meadow. We have some making utilities line going from the top of Corkscrew up to the Angle Station, which is snowmaking line and underground power line. And then we are doing work on Big Dipper ski run on Supreme. That work will probably start in the next couple of weeks. Detuning that run so that we can bring that online with us soon. And so taking out some of the improving some of the grades and such like we did for Sleepy Hollow. The Wildcat parking lot project, roadside parking project is underway. And we're continuing to work through a few little things there. And thank you again to Chris and the staff of the town for helping us jump through all the hoops to kind of keep this thing on track and working with that. Some of the intricacies there. We've been working with Rocky Mountain Power on this overhead replacement power line project involves them changing a line between the Peruvian and the GMD. Right now the line comes overhead to the GMD and then goes to the Peruvian. And that will eventually change. The main line will go up the road and it'll feed the Peruvian and go up the road, and GMD will be fed in the opposite direction. And then our project we're doing is we're actually working with R&P to put in the conduit to allow them to pull that new line. And there'll be a period of time here probably where they may pull that in the next month or two, and we may have a short outage on that line as they switch it over. I don't know exactly that one back, but I'm sure we'll have that figured out. So that's just updating our projects. I announced at the end of our operating season that I am retiring as the general manager of Alta. Hopefully by the start of the next season, we'll see. We're in the process of taking out applications from inside and outside. Our Alta's board of directors will be the ones primarily responsible for selecting a replacement. And anticipate that I'll be involved in that process, but to the exact degree is not quite defined yet in that process. But we're taking applications through July 1st, and then we'll have a vetting process and start some interviews. But there, as you can imagine, there's a fair amount of interest for people in this position. So my goal is we really are focused on not only finding someone that has the appropriate business and management skills, but someone that understands the culture of Alta and is supportive and will help us to continue this spirit of cooperation in the community and continue to provide and focus on a ski experience being the priority and not so much just trying to shave money out of people's pockets. So that's, but as many people as we can. We want to preserve the quality of ski experience. Our board is committed to that. We're committed to trying to find an appropriate general manager that will allow us to do that. It's my hope or my intent to continue in an advisory role with after the replacement of the new GM is in place for a period of time, which has to be worked out with the board. So that's my update for you. Any questions?
I have a bunch, but I'll find you. I'm interested in a lot of things.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you.
On a great tenure.
Yeah.
It's not an easy place to leave, let's put it that way. My heart and soul is here in Alta. I love Alta. My wife has a desire, I would like to spend some time in service for our faith together. And thought, now's the time when we have some help, some capacity. If we wait too long, that won't be an option. So that's kind of where we figure a year from now, it'll be somewhere in the world doing something, we just don't know what that is.
Well, I predict this, a year from now, you'll be a year older.
Yes. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Congratulations.
Okay, that takes us.
Go ahead, remind me.
Don't mind you.
I do it randomly.
This takes us along to the mayor's report. In these multi-color, doesn't it?
You are a long way off, my friend.
Oh, damn.
We gotta wait till we get you.
It would be great. I have proof expedition of the agenda, but I don't think we can.
All right, discussion of possible action to adopt resolution 2026-R-14, appointing John Napstead to the Alpha Planning Commission's John's tenure or appointment expired fairly recently, and so he's been serving, I guess, without portfolio for a couple of months. You want to say anything?
Sure, happy to. First off, I thoroughly enjoyed my time as the planning commissioner, and how many years I've been the chair, I think 3 or 4, and this. I told them that if they gave me a gavel, which they did. I haven't used it very often, but on occasion, it does come in handy, but I do enjoy that. I enjoy my professional background is in planning. And I've worked at a lot of consulting around the Rocky Mountains, and I've been skiing here since 1992. It's kind of my home course in Dark Pines. And so I feel very passionate about what my role here. I enjoy it immensely, enjoy the planning commission. I enjoy the interaction with staff, stakeholders, partners. People like Mike, I've known for a long time, and I'm always encouraged to see the public show up at our meetings. I obviously wish there were more of that. And I wish there were more we could do, I guess, looking to the future, more interaction with town council. Something it's hard to find those nexus points, but I do want, that's kind of one of my written goals. And also I really enjoy working with staff, most recently on some very basic extension staff, helping with some procurement things as a consultant for many years. I do have a little experience in helping procure professional services. And so I've been certainly Chris and modeling on some of that. And then also looking to the future as well, and very excited about helping with the upcoming plan update. I helped with QC, I guess, the application for that. That was great to see that successfully come through from WFRC, and I anticipate a fairly strong and helpful role in that. So have to answer any questions about what I've done, what I've been doing, and what I'd like to see, and I appreciate the potential appointment to continue.
John was on the planning commission when I was on the planning commission, which was a while ago. So with that, I'm gonna say, I make a motion to adopt resolution 2026-R-14, appointing John Napstead to the Alta Planning Commission.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, in favor?
It's a roll call vote.
Yep.
We're gonna be roll
We're doing
call.
a
Well, resolutions long before the mayor's report.
Yeah.
Councilmember Highmark.
You
Speak.
You have to speak.
Oh, you're on. Oh, he's just on mute. He probably
I
didn't realize.
did speak, but it was on mute. Yes.
Thank you, Councilmember Morgan,
Yes.
Councilmember Schilling,
Yes.
and Mayor Burke.
Yes.
Motion is. You're on.
Looking forward to it.
You know, it's interesting that there, until Marin left, there were 3 former town, planning commissioners here.
Well, even when I was on the planning commission, you were on the planning.
Yeah, and now Marin,
At one point, we had 3 of us in the room who were on the planning.
yeah. Okay, discussion of possible action to approve resolution 2026 R15 adopting fiscal 26 final budgets for the general fund, capital project fund, water fund, and sewer fund.
So moved.
Second.
You're faster than me today.
It's gonna be a race to whole.
Councilmember Highmark.
I saw his mouth say, yeah.
Yeah, but you're still on mute.
Yourself unmuted.
Cowboy.
Sorry. Yes.
You're always gonna be first today. Councilmember
Okay.
Highmark. If you wanna be ready.
He said yes.
You did? Okay,
Yeah.
just wanted to hear it. Councilmember Morgan,
Yes.
Councilmember Schilling.
Yes.
Mayor Burke,
Yes.
motion passes.
Okay, 15, discussion and possible action to approve resolution 2026 R16 adopting the Alta Special Service District budget of 0 and a certified tax rate of 0.
So moved.
So this is for FY
Second.
27 for this, yes. Councilmember Highmark,
Yes.
Councilmember Morgan,
Yes.
Councilmember Schilling,
Yes.
Mayor Burke.
Yes.
Would you like me to read this one, doing my narrative voice?
Oh, yeah, do
This
it.
is a long one.
I think I actually need to. read it.
You do?
I
Even-
do,
Even better.
personally, you can
Mm,
introduce it, but I think.
Oh.
I'm supposed to.
well, next is.
Oh, no, I actually don't.
No, you don't have to
I
read this.
don't, sorry. But somebody
Would you
does.
like to read it?
No, come on, read it.
Discussion of possible action to adopt resolution 2026 R 17 of the Alta Town Council adopting the property tax impact schedule and acknowledging that a separate item is included on the agenda for the June 17th, 2026 public meeting, notifying the public that town's budget officer made a statement that the interim budget for fiscal year 2026-27 includes a proposed property tax increase as required by Utah code. Acknowledging that the budget officer presented to the town council as a separate item on the agenda in the same public meeting, a property tax impact schedule separate from other budget documents as defined in section 59-2-924 of the Utah code. Directing that the property tax impact schedule shall be available for public inspection and will be included as a separate agenda item at each public hearing prior to June 30th, at which the town council discusses the proposed general fund budget for fiscal year 2026-27.
So moved.
Second.
And I'd like to make one comment on this. I'm voting myself a tax increase. And that's, well, significant. And I think if Craig voted for it, he will be doing the same. So, roll call.
Councilmember Highmark,
Approved.
yes?
Yes.
Yes.
You know how specific it should be on that, I mean, it just. I.
He voted yes. Come on.
I.
No, I don't know. I understand why you're nervous. I think it's okay.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Morgan, you said yes.
Yes.
Councilmember Schilling.
Yes.
Mayor Burke.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, item 17, discussion and possible action to approve resolution 2026 R-18 adopting the proposed property tax rate.
Can I just make a couple comments?
Yes, Stu.
So the next section of resolutions is all different components that are leading into the interim FY 27 budget. Just, so these are each individual things, and then the interim budget later will be adopted based on any components of this. So this is the tax rate of 0.000979.
I'm gonna make this a little more formal. I make a motion to approve resolution 2026 R18 adopting the proposed property tax rate.
Second, and I think it was important to state it.
Okay.
Councilmember Howard,
Yes.
thank you. Councilmember Morgan,
Yes.
Councilmember Schilling,
Yes.
Councilmember Burke, or
Yeah.
Mayor
Yes.
Burke, motion passes, thank you.
Okay, 18, discussion of possible action to approve order 2026 -0-8, setting the compensation for elected and statutory officers.
So moved.
Second.
This is a good one.
Yes.
Councilmember Highmark,
Yes.
Councilmember Morgan,
Yes.
Councilmember Schilling,
Yes.
Mayor Burke,
Yes.
motion passes.
19, discussion of possible action to approve ordinance 2026-09, adopting Title 3, Chapter 6, Article F, transit room tax. Second. Is there any discussion?
There down then.
This is one of those, this is important to the town, obviously, and as often happens for me, I look to you again for just the years, because you often will weigh in when we're faced with something that's sort of significant. Not making light of this, because I think it's important.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, in the last week, our last meeting in May, this transit room tax has been talked about for years. I mean, I know about, kicking the can down the road, and I feel like we've been doing that honestly for a while with this. I think Craig said it in the last meeting a little bit more that he, I was kind of more like, do we have to do this? And I think Craig was saying that, this is the time to do this. And it's not, like I said, it's been discussed so many times that I have a lot of history behind it, so it's not something that I'm super excited to be talking about, because I know it's a big impact on our community.
I also have something to add, because I think it's important, and especially in light of what we've heard from businesses that are central to the town and that are important to us. I also think, though, because of the things we're facing, the creation of the Citizen Capital Committee and the other things we're doing as we advance requirements to support the town, to support the future and the increases therein, that it would be irresponsible for us to then go back to the citizens and not do with this as the only town, ski resort town that doesn't have it.
You're saying that you would feel that because we might be going and asking for a bond or
Well,
some
this
sort of.
is all part of that
That's-
process. It would be irresponsible to not do this, but I'm pained by it. In some ways.
No. Craig, you want to say anything?
I think the hard part here is I do appreciate the perspective of the lodges. At the same time, we as the council have to provide a lot of services to support the ski industry and the occasional visitors that come up. We've quoted before that about, according to Mike and his officers, about 3/4 of the visits are actually not for residents. And so that's an example. And as we all know, Mike's budget is about half of our total budget. So we have to balance things like provision of the shuttle, provision of public services, with the fact that, that means increasing the taxes on our businesses. And I think that as we move into this era of being a little bit more responsible for our long-term capital planning, it would be incongruous to not pass this tax at this time.
And I also hope that the offset of requests for voluntary contributions to the Alpha Shuttle can help make it a little more palatable for those businesses too. But I don't think it's an easy thing to do.
Well, it's not an easy thing to do to actually get them to kick in, I think. They have, in some cases, dragged their feet, in some cases, just not paid, right? So.
It's not. But that aside, setting that aside, I move that we adopt to approve ordinance 2026-0-9, adopting Title 3, Chapter 6, Article F, the transient room tax.
Second.
Right.
Councilmember Highmark,
Yes.
Councilmember Morgan,
Yes.
Councilmember Schilling,
Yes.
Mayor Burke,
Yes.
motion passes.
Okay, item 20, discussion and possible action to approve resolution 2026 R19, adopting the FY 27 interim general fund budget.
So the,
Second then.
Any
Councilman-
discussion on? Okay, let's go ahead.
Councilmember Highmark,
Yes.
Councilmember Morgan,
Yes.
Councilmember Schilling,
Yes.
Mayor Burke.
Yes.
Motion
Discussion,
passes.
discussion and possible action to approve resolution 2026 R20, repealing and replacing the water use rates.
We've definitely covered this.
Yes.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Highmark,
Yes.
Councilmember Morgan,
Yes.
Councilmember Schilling,
Yes.
and Mayor Burke.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Discussion and possible action to approve resolution 2026 R21, repealing and replacing sewer use rates.
Ditto on this. I think we covered that a lot.
Yeah, I think we covered
So
that.
moved.
Second.
Councilmember Highmark,
Yes.
Councilmember Morgan,
Yes.
Councilmember Schilling,
Yes.
and Mayor Burke.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Discussion and possible action to approve resolution 2026 R22, adopting the proposed FY 27 budgets to capital projects fund, water fund, and sewer fund.
I'll make sure I understand that one.
Well,
We're,
it's because we did the
23.
general, because
Yeah,
it
yeah,
came from,
this is-
for the
this is-
general fund,
this
we
is
have to do everything else separately. The other three.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Highmark,
Yes.
Councilmember Morgan,
Yes.
Councilmember Schilling,
Yes.
motion passes.
No, you didn't.
Or, I'm sorry, I'm writing it, Mayor Burke.
Yes.
Although it did pass.
Yeah, motion passes unanimously.
Okay, 24, discussion possible action to approve resolution 2026 R23, adopting a capital projects plan.
We need to.
So moved.
Second.
Still value.
You have a question?
No,
Just-
for some reason I thought we were gonna have some other summary that went with that because of all the moving parts.
That's keeping it
No,
in line with all the other moving
I'm gonna
parts
vote
that
yes.
you've
You
already.
get me.
Okay, Councilmember Highmark,
Yes.
Councilmember Morgan,
Yes.
Councilmember Schilling,
Yes.
Mayor Burke,
Yes.
motion passes.
Discussion and possible action to approve resolution 2026 R23, adopting the capital projects plan.
The fee schedule, number 25.
No.
24.
25.
I thought it was 24.
That's 25.
We just did that one.
Resolution 24.
Okay, excuse me, discussion and possible action to approve resolution 2026 R24, repealing and replacing the fee schedule.
Yeah, so this was mainly for water and sewer rates, but we threw in a couple other updates to,
Bill?
we don't, I don't burn CDs for anybody anymore. We just put it on a USB drive, and the grandma, the hourly rate that we charge for that.
Yeah, I actually looked through the whole thing and it seemed like it's the right thing to do. Didn't we increase like building fees too, I think?
Not building fees in this, but there was a provision for increasing the hourly rate for the marshal services. Those, I think those were the
Oh.
things.
Okay, anyway, so moved.
Second.
Councilmember Highmark,
Yes.
Taller than his camera. Taller than his camera.
Councilmember Morgan.
Yes.
Councilmember Schilling
Yes,
and Mayor Burke.
Yes.
Motion passes.
the legend of sleepy council. There.
Okay, discussion and possible action to adopt ordinance 2026 -0-10 to establish an FY 27 town council meeting schedule.
So moved.
We had some errors on the previous one and we didn't realize it till we were putting in the calendar. I don't know what I did wrong, but this is correcting it. And I have also at Councilmember Highmark's request,
You sent
you noticed on, I think it was Monday or whatever, I sent out all the calendar appointments. So hopefully you don't have to accept them, but if they work for you, great.
Okay,
We had a movement.
So moved.
Second. Even though I had already moved.
Oh.
I'm overriding. Councilmember Highmark,
Yes.
The headless council member, Councilmember Martin.
There we go.
Councilmember Schilling.
Yes.
Mayor Burke,
Yes.
motion passes.
Discussion of possible action to adopt ordinance 2026-0-11, amending the town of Alta zoning map to reflect base facility zones ABC or action to continue to date uncertain. This is a bit awkward.
And we also, it was just trying to go through that thing.
We talked about this the last.
Yes.
Can we pull the map up?
Just a second.
That is not the zone.
That's not our. It looks like our neighborhood.
So, Chris, just real quick, the way why this is coming up.
Yeah.
I kind of took this as, we kind of talked about this in the last meeting, that we found some, I'm gonna call them housekeeping things about the zoning map that we needed to correct. Is that kind of how you.
That we could possibly.
Well, I consider the objective of the zoning map amendment that we've proposed and the planning commission recommended as. I would call it more than housekeeping.
Okay.
So, okay. So I'm gonna, I think, stand over here, but so
Sorry, I need to share my screen.
that's all right. There we go, okay. So here is a proposed amended town of Alta zoning map. The purpose for the amendment we proposed to the zoning map is to add these, the base facility zone is the commercial zoning district. It applies to 8 pieces of private property. In 2014 or 15 or something, Elise was on the commission, I believe, when the town adopted 3 subzones. So 3 of the base facility zone properties are in zone A, 2 of them are in B, might actually be the other way around, and 2 of them are in subzone C, and distinct regulations apply to those specific properties. So in my opinion, they are separate zoning districts and they need to be illustrated as such on the map. We can't, the text of the ordinance calls out those properties essentially by business name or by, you know, social convention, and that can change. And given the extent to which we're looking at the base facilities on ordinance right now, I thought it was best to resolve this matter with the zoning map amendment. So that's the purpose, and that was the only intended change to the zoning map that we brought to the council in April. There were some typos. It said zona data was
So forth.
was developed and so on and so forth, for general planning purpose to only. So we changed those. There was another issue with the zoning map that we discussed in the meeting that had to do with the boundaries between zoning districts. And that is a separate issue to the conversation I had with Craig earlier today from the primary objective of this map, of the zoning map update, which is to adopt these 3 subzones. So that there's a separate issue regarding the zoning boundaries. It's a complicated topic, and we don't have a simple resolution for it right now. And I don't know when we're gonna have one. The zoning boundaries on this map haven't changed. These have been the town's zoning boundaries since at least our current zoning map was adopted, which was in 2007, I believe, or sometime in the aughts. And I don't believe that property, Mr. Hake, I wonder, might know about rezoning, but zoning designations on property in Alta, I think, have really only changed when land has been annexed into Alta. So otherwise, those boundaries have applied to the same properties. Anyways, we started to discuss that zone boundary issue in the meeting last month. There's no easy resolution for now. So we voted to continue it until this meeting. And the council has two choices. We can vote to continue the issue to the future, and we'd be without that kind of, but we'd be out without this sort of improvement in the integrity of the base facility zone ordinance that this provides for us. Or we can adopt this map and just acknowledge that that issue with the zoning boundaries and the way it appears based relative to other map features is just not something we can resolve today. So
What's your recommendation?
Right.
I recommend we adopt
On the
this.
heel of that sentence.
So I mean, what I'm trying to remember when I was on the planning commission, when we were doing the base facility zone, and we went, that discussion was like, I don't know, that lasted a year or two to talk about the base facility zone. And part of our problem was that we're trying to adopt some stuff and you can't apply it to all the businesses, especially some of the businesses that are already obviously built. And so you couldn't apply everything across the board. So we talked about A, B, and C. And one of the reasons they were named by the business is because we didn't want to draw a zone because the business property lines were kind of how that's kind of why the business names were in the ordinance, is because I think then we were thinking that those businesses those would be the zones themselves. Like, let's say for zone C, the Shallow Shaft and the Pluff Johns, right? Those property boundaries were the zone. And so that's kind of, I think, why the businesses' names were in there, even though obviously we didn't have the foresight to think those businesses would change. But that's kind of what I remember though, like gold miners, that zone on there was the gold miners property line, and gold miners was named for that zone. And so that's kind of what I remember of the discussion. What to do moving forward, like you guys have essentially kind of, we're changing the zones away from the business names and actually kind of calling them zoning, what do you call them, districts? Whatever you're calling referring to them at, right?
Yeah.
So for me, the boundaries, I guess, unless, we wanted to kick this back down to the planning commission, because I feel like this is all kind of like getting into planning commission territory a little bit, if we were to start talking about these boundaries. I would recommend doing what you suggested, that we pass this, knowing that we have this going on. But if we want to start diving into it more, this is something that I would probably see bringing the planning commission on and talking about these zones.
Yeah.
Because I think, like we said, when I was on the planning commission, that was kind of what the direction we were talking about. Do we still want it to be that way? I don't know.
Well, but what we can do by passing is we can assist you with this, but we can always come back and address it.
Yes.
Because we've got some things that are in motion that have
If we
been presented to us that we're talking about adjusting anyway.
Yeah, I mean, the zoning map is the foundation of the zoning ordinance, and if the zoning map is not clear about the zoning regulations that apply to, and zoning boundaries typically follow parcel boundaries, so it's uncommon, to have a chunk of private property in the middle of a bunch of
correct.
federal land, so there aren't many zoning maps that look like that. I guess
And I think that you are right, like getting obviously the business name out of that.
Yeah.
Is a good idea.
It is still in there, so it's a little bit of an intermediate step, but if the zoning map makes it clear, we don't have to rely on the name of the photo house property changing, and it's not the thing, so.
Correct,
There's a
yeah.
bargain reason to keep it, but somebody else could decide they don't like the name.
But I mean, for me, I don't see why we wouldn't follow the property parcel boundaries for these zones, so I guess I'm not, I don't know if that's like some wording we need to adopt, but.
No, well, maybe we wanna leave the terminology parcel boundaries aside for now, because it's all about parcel boundaries, right? The only effect of this map amendment is to create 3 distinct overlay shades.
Okay.
Map legend values, or whatever the GIS.
For the
folks would
zoning.
say.
That are still just for planning purposes anyway.
A, B, and C.
Okay.
Yeah. And we have more work to do on our zoning map.
Yes.
And yeah.
And I'll support it under the condition that you put Zona back in there.
Zona.
Well, like John Nipstead said, that he wants to know what the planning commission can do, and we have a lot of things I think we have a lot of things that they can start working on, whether it's zoning map, general plan. But well, since this discussion's been going on, I will make a motion to adopt ordinance 2026-011, amend the town of Alpha zoning map to reflect base facility zones A, B, C.
Seconded.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, let's call for them.
Councilmember Highmark,
Yes,
Councilmember Ryan,
Yes.
Councilmember Schilling,
Yes.
Mayor Burke.
Yes,
Motion passes.
Now it's your big moment.
Oh,
my big valid.
Here comes some non-circular orbits.
No, we're not there yet.
Oh.
In the multi-government meetings that I attend, the question is sometimes asked, what events do you sponsor that promotes community cohesion? The typical answers are, well, we hold a, picnic on 4th of July, or parade on 4th of July, or on something like that on Pioneer Day. So when it comes around to me, I say, what we do is we get everybody together to pick up trash. And the answer is, no, the response is, you do what? Your community involvement is picking up trash? And I said, yes.
and we love it.
And in June, on June 2nd, we held a 45th annual canyon cleanup. The turnout was huge, about 200 participants. And from all walks of life. For instance, in my patrol, I was accompanied by a 90-year-old woman, and it was not her.
I don't think that went over well.
Nearly every person on the staff helped out. Was organized by Molly. Pretty much. The weather was perfect. Food was good. Everyone was pleased. I interpreted this as an indication of the appreciation and the love for this community is wide and deep, and let's keep it that way. So, this has been mentioned before, but if you walk up the road a few hundred yards, you'll find a big hole in the ground and a bigger excavator digging it up. That, I'm happy to say, is the new trailhead restroom. Construction's underway. Many thanks to Alpha Ski Lifts, who is left, and Big D for making this happen. It's honestly. The Sandy City Council took steps last week to defund the Central Wasatch Commission, or at least their portion of it. I, along with several others, including the highly respected former Mill Creek Mayor Jeff Silvestrini, made in-person public statements urging them to do otherwise. The council also received more than 100 messages from constituents against this action. Nevertheless, they went their way and voted a budget that zeroed out their contribution to CWC. At the same meeting, they voted to double their own salaries and cut the mayor's salary. So don't get any ideas.
We still have a quorum.
A reminder that our next community event will be on July 5th, a potluck at the town park. So you'll come and bring something delicious.
What time is that again? Just to say it for the
I
record.
believe it was at 5.
Sounds right. Just
Okay.
check. It is on our website.
And on July 20th, Alta will be hosting the monthly meeting of mayors for this region. There's another opportunity to show off the preciousness and uniqueness of our little town, and subtly, I want to keep it that way. For many years, Lake County has made a $3 million contribution to UFA, which is called the Canyon Recreation Fund. And the rationale is that most of the EMP and ambulance services for visitors, not residents. In fact, UFA said that their number is 95% of their ambulance services are for non-residents. The county has decided to phase out that subsidy. I'm kind of perplexed by that. The effect on station 113 and us is unclear. But one option is for UFA to raise property taxes. In a call last week, the UFA legal counsel said she had never experienced such a negative reaction to tax increases as she had this year. Yeah. Dan and Elise's terms expire at the end of next year.
Alright, wow. Time goes by.
So why am I mentioning it now?
Yes.
Okay. Sign up to run for office for next June. Year from now. And I'm a big fan of the voters having a choice. Which is pretty much why I'm here at all. So I would like to see others who are interested in this town, who care to serve in the community in this capacity, sign them up. So I'm giving them a year to think about it. That's the point. On June 23rd, Chris and I, and anyone else who cares to join, will be meeting with Fire Chief Don Burchett for our quarterly get-together. My interest is principally on this coming summer. The dry forest, the dry lightning that comes with the forecast intense El Nino. And please let us know if there's anything else you want Chris and I to bring up. I presume you'll be there too, Jay. Is that?
Like to be, I think, the chief does not invite us in case there's any issues that you have with your liaison. There's not.
And their difficult personality.
Yeah.
Totally up to you.
Well, okay, in that case, I would recommend you come.
Maybe see what Chief thinks about it, but I think you're such a great translator and long-term.
Sounds good.
Now,
23rd.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I might mention that when the last time I talked to the chief, I pointed out that Station 113 turns out for the canyon cleanup as part of our community service
Their
and
safety crew.
Yeah, good to see a litter on the back of their little thing.
yeah. Now, on to what you've all been waiting for. The astronomy report, which I assigned some homework, and at least Dan did his homework. And it's the lower right there. Yeah. I said, if you go outside at a little after sundown, for the last week or so, you'll see a pattern of stars that look like this. And then if you look at the next day or the day after that, you'll find that they've changed positions relative to each other. Okay. So I should also point out that to the casual observer, the sun goes up one side, goes down on the other side, and it looks like it's going around the earth. And that was the common prevailing understanding until about the mid-1500s, when a guy named Nicholas Copernicus came along and said, no, the earth moves around the sun, and so these other stars you're seeing up here, they move around the sun too. It got him into trouble with the church. But he had it right, and eventually the ideas were widely accepted, and we now call that the Copernican revolution. So the 5 stars, of which you see 3 here, Mercury, Venus, and Jupiter, are always moving along with the Earth. Sometimes they more or less line up, as they did last week. And this might have been what you have seen. So here's what's going on. In the next slide, there we go. The whole sky moves around. There's Earth. And if you tilt it up a little bit, you can kind of see that from Earth, you're looking out towards Mercury, Jupiter, and somehow Venus got lost, so you drag down a little bit. Oh, there's Venus one. It's a little sensitive, yes. So we're going around every 365 days. Venus is going around every 276 days. Mercury is going around every 88 days, and Jupiter is going around every 12 years. So naturally, those things all change in perspective. And so we're looking kind of along, we're, of course, when the sun goes down, we're on the left side of the Earth over there in the little blue circle. And we're looking out towards Venus. And behind it, we see Jupiter, or actually below it, we see Jupiter. And below it, we see Mercury. So that was what was going on. Next month, how these bodies, okay. Next one, I'll mention how these bodies move and why. And that meeting will be on July 8th at 4 p.m. with a likely work session to precede it. And that day, July 8th, we'll have 9 minutes less daylight than today because we're heading towards winter.
Yes.
We are scheduling a work session just to confirm that.
I have no other expectation.
Oh, and incidentally, Polly's guess as to why these stars were lining up. Let's see, the stars were aligned for the next one when the NBA ends. Yeah, right.
Except not stars.
No, I said planets.
Okay.
Yeah.
I realized, I was like, oh, I can't make that mistake.
I find what's staggering is how bright Jupiter is.
Yeah, it is pretty bright. It's
Considering how, this thing doesn't do it justice, it's so far away.
Oh, no, how bright Jupiter is.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
well, of course, it's much less bright than Venus.
No, I know, the Venus is always the
It's
brightest.
so far, Jupiter's so far away, you wouldn't think it's
It's
right.
so
but
far
it's
away.
really bright.
Yeah, but it's much bigger.
It's very.
That's why you get this much brightness.
So by property there.
Right. All right. Next is approval of the consent agenda, including the following items: the May 13th Town Council meeting minutes, June staff and finance reports, authorization of the town manager to enter into agreement for building department services, authorization town manager into an agreement for town engineer service, the authorization for him to enter an agreement for cooperative wildfire systems with Utah Forestry, Fire and State Lands.
So moved.
So move, yes.
I was just hoping to make a comment that
Please.
staff has been listening with the consent agenda, and so this is like the first consent agenda that we put on here. We put as much on here as we could that was not roll call essential. In the future, when we do these, if there is something in a consent agenda that you want to edit or modify, the way you do it is you pull it off the consent agenda, you vote on what you all in one action, and then you can vote separately on another action. So I don't know if anything qualifies for that here today, but I just wanted to explain how that works.
Okay. In other words, you're putting stuff on the extent of the consent agenda to the extent legally possible.
So we don't have to roll. I had a couple of comments. One, I hear a lot about UFA from people, comments about how it doesn't serve the visitors and it doesn't serve the residents sometimes, but I wanted to take a shout out. One of my coworkers, a couple weeks ago had an allergic reaction and we called 911, we called station 113. And they helped him out and gave him a second epi shot, and he was very scared because he couldn't breathe, and you guys took him down in your ambulance. And so I just wanted to say that, we have a lot of more people in this town than residents and visitors. We also have a lot of employees in this town that aren't considered probably either of those things, that UFA helped out a lot that day. Because he was really scared, and you guys reassured him a lot. And made him feel better. And the other thing I want to say is, last week I was at a ski conference, Intermountain Ski Area Association up in Tamarack. Tamarack Resort, I don't know if any of you know, it's a very small resort, but they had a very significant wildfire that threatened the resort. They were on evacuation status for about 3 weeks. While the firefighters actually stayed in their mid-mountain lodge and were on scene, and it was a very good, I went to a talk about that whole entire process and everything that went into keep protecting the homeowners in that group, because they have a large homeowners association part of that resort, but also just how the firefighters were turning on the lifts for the ski resort and staying in the lodges, and so it is a thing, it happens. I know Sierra Tahoe is not really in this resort anymore, most of that has burned. And it has greatly impacted their community. And that was one of the things Tamarack talked about a lot, was that losing that resort would greatly impact the community. And our community, the ski area is within the town. So it's kind of like one and the same. But that is more to the point of E in this item about authorizing the town manager to enter into this cooperative agreement. Because the wildfires, for me, also just living in California, in Northern California, it's a big deal. And I'm always like the one person, I think, in the town that's obsessed about wildfires, but
No, you're not.
I am obsessed with it. Going to the Socket Tamarack really just made me like,
More obsessive.
yeah, maybe just be like, oh man, we have so much stuff we gotta get ready in case this happens, but you know, and I believe right now we are on a red flag. Right now, I think, or maybe the Valley is, I don't know if Alta is. Moab is on a red flag, yeah.
Parts of the state are in red flag.
For the next couple of days, and I have an app on my phone called Watch Duty, and while we were in this meeting, I got notifications of two different fires down in Spanish Fork. They have since been put out, but anyways. I just wanted to make that comment as part of it, that UFA is very important for many people, not just our visitors, but also this fire agreement that we're authorizing Chris to go into. Very important.
And I'll just add that, because I'll double down on that. I think it's important, and I think we're moving in a very prudent direction with the wildfire interface.
Buoy.
Whatever it looks like,
We got
a continued attention is gonna serve us well in the event we have the problem.
I don't wanna raid on anybody's parade line or UFAs. I mean, the reason that agreement in the packet is not that it's anything new, it's simply.
It's I know it's
Yeah.
redo it, but I just wanted to clear it up, yes.
State code changed it and it's no longer UFA entry agreement, it's the jurisdiction of the municipality. I wish I could say that agreement meant that we were doing more here locally, but. It covers costs in the event we bear any if there's a wildfire.
Well, I know the WUI code is very, the WUI, we'll call it, implications, you know, it's been brought up in a lot of our public comment over the last couple of meetings and the implications it's gonna have, but. The fact that for me, the state legislature, the state focused on that, and I know they put that in place, but to me, it means that they are. Earmarking funding and identifying problems, and if it makes me a little reassured that their minds are on it. Because that could potentially impact us a lot.
So I already moved.
You did move, I'll second it.
Okay, so roll call?
No.
Okay, all in favor of item 29?
Yes.
Yes,
So it's just the three of us.
all right. Appointment, item 30, appointment of. He held up his thumb as if.
That is not a vote.
Oh, that is not.
Oh.
That way.
Okay, I thought for the consent items that would work. Yes.
No, certainly not.
Not when you're remote,
Yeah.
specifically, you have to hear it.
Okay, appointment of a building official by the mayor.
So, town code. You know, empowers the mayor to. Designate. A building official or the building official. It doesn't really specify, the mechanism, but the safest thing to do is to do it on record. In the meeting, it doesn't require the council to ratify or adopt that action. But you just approved a contract with, so just, you know, we want to streamline discussion, but I guess I'll open it back up by. Was highlighting that we hired the same firm to be the town engineer in the building official and otherwise provide building department services. And that firm is Sunrise Engineering. It is, and it's really more of a regional firm. They're one of the only companies out there that provides building department services to municipalities in the region. And there just aren't that many options for companies that will provide you a building official. The building official has authority to apply the building code. amongst many other things, the town of Elton code cites the building official as having quite a few distinct responsibilities. So, fortunately, we have a building official, and we do have an individual by the name of James Short, who is the building official for a number of jurisdictions, including Copper Heights, where Sunrise has been operating their building department more or less in turnkey fashion. They do it all for Copper Heights since it was incorporated, I think, about 20 years ago. So anyway, I think it meets the requirement in the code for the mayor to appoint, can state for the record that he appoints Sunrise Engineering as town.
No, it has to be, it has to be for whoever it's gonna be.
Okay. Well, it's gonna be short.
Okay.
Right.
It has to be a person.
Okay, I would like to appoint James Short as the building official.
Well done.
Okay,
Do we have to vote on that?
go James.
No. Okay. There it is. All right. Questions regarding department reports?
Congratulations, Brooke, on getting your notary.
One of you can join our small little team of notaries in town, including me. We have a club.
Great.
Really?
Yeah, there's 4 of us.
Market though.
I'm on the two.
Are you?
Oh, but you're not in town.
Once a month.
I've been doing actually quite a few notaries for non-resident, not residents, but like not for the house, the area. I've been like, wow.
Great.
The business.
Did I just make a couple comments?
Yes,
I just, we moved really quickly through all of the budget stuff.
we did.
And so I just wanted to kind of circle back around to the approval, what was approved, the moving forward with the property tax revenue increase, so there will be a public hearing Tuesday, August 11th at 6 p.m. in this facility. And then also, you did approve the transient room tax, the municipal transient room tax. So I will notify the state tax commission of that. And then there is a delay so that the entities that have to impose it have time to do that. So if we notify them before July 1, which I'm able to do, then that would actually not go into effect until October 1st for those. And I'll try and do some outreach to the Alps Lodging community to communicate that with them, just to try and.
And I've done a truth and taxation hearing. I know we have some council members who've never done one before, but we do need a quorum to attend that meeting, right?
Yeah,
It's a public
it is
meeting.
a,
August
yes,
11th.
that's the August.
Yeah.
one.
And I won't be here.
Yeah, so I'm just putting
But
it.
I have a big chart of who's
Yeah.
here when
Yeah.
for that, so yes, I'm paying attention to that for sure.
I wanted to be here, but I'm out of country.
And there is the hybrid.
Yes, correct,
Option.
yeah.
So we will have all that stuff on our website.
I feel like it's been a really long time since we've done.
Okay, any other?
Year?
Yes, I have,
Last year?
I have something.
Oh,
that-
do it last year.
No, we did do the hearing, we went through the whole process.
The truth and taxation hearing?
Yeah,
Oh,
we
that's
did.
right, we just got done.
We did it.
Okay,
Changing topics, but even though we touched on some of this earlier when we got our ACE update, I just want to make note of the fact that tomorrow at Breckenridge, there's a memorial for Tina Biddle. So a lot of snowbird people are going there, and I still greatly lament the loss of a great snow safety leader and conservationist and the things she would do there, which is why they're having the outpouring for her there, and just another one of the great leaders in Middle Cumberland Canyon. And I really miss her because we built a great friendship, and she was just such a great contributor. And I think it's fantastic that they spread that out and doing that in Breckenridge. Anyways, want to mention that.
excellent Breckenridge.
She worked there. You would never know that all the stuff she did. It's just so incredible what a leader she was. Anyways.
You also mentioned Tamarack,
Mhm.
which is a new ski area this century, I believe.
Yeah, it was a ski area that kind of went.
Yeah.
They closed for a long time and then it reopened, I don't know, 7 years ago, but yeah.
What was
The
it
new-
called before?
I don't think it was called before. I think it was open to it.
Tamarack.
It was Tamarack, but it's.
Then Swiss credit on them because they, spent a lot of money. but it's always been going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It kind of,
has.
yeah,
It just hasn't hurt.
it's
okay.
been going for a while, but it did go, the ski resort part of it kind of stopped for a few years, but then they brought it back. And it's a very beautiful place. If anyone wants to head over to the place. Next topic.
Next topic, new business.
I think that's it.
Craig, you wanna have any, you wanna say anything on new business?
Good to see your face again.
I'll
Do we
take
wanna talk about-
myself off mute. Yeah,
Yes,
Roger,
very
we
good.
talked about bringing up, I did use some AI work to circulate some material. I did get generally very good feedback on that. I had a great conversation with Jen today, and I think working with Jen will work out, where AI might be appropriate to help us. I think in a large part, this is about communicating to the public. And if you remember, when I was first appointed as treasurer at the very beginning, I did a presentation, and it started with the fact that it's not just that we need to hit legal requirements for information distribution. We also have to make it understandable to the town council members and also to the outside citizens. And I think that means standardizing some of our reports and giving very good summaries. And the good news is AI can help us do that, I think, much more effectively. So I'll meet with Jen next week and we'll figure out what the next step is.
My only comment with that was that I like the summary option, but I also still like getting the full packet, right? And so my
you're gonna-
worry though.
Yeah.
Is that I know, but my worry though is that even the summary for this one, because we had a lot of stuff on the agenda, is a couple pages just for the summary. So my only concern is that we will be adding more pages to a already large packet. And so that was the only thing that I like, having the summary of everything, especially the resolutions and the ordinances, I think are hard for people to understand. But again, are we gonna add just 5 more pages to another huge packet?
I think they should be separate packets. Can we do that? Can we have 2 packets?
No,
Okay.
not because of our website.
So that's my only thing to note. I think it's a good direction to move to, but I just worry that we just, might be expanding something that's already big, but this was not maybe a good test because this particular meeting has a lot of stuff already as part of the packet. I think trying maybe in the July meeting and seeing what it'll look like would be good, because maybe the July meeting will be not quite as budget intensive.
Okay.
But that was my only thing about the comment.
No, I thought the same thing.
Yes, but
So it's on my radar.
I did like it a lot. I think it was really clear.
I think it's very clear too,
Yeah.
but as someone who likes to tell stories for a living, I don't like the wording. You can always tell it's AI. But that's has nothing to do with its value or how well it's presented. But I like the summaries quite well.
Yeah.
The where we showed, and then my feedback to Craig was, having looked through that, where we're showing shortfalls, where we show over, like, this is very handy to digest for me, because sometimes my eyes cross on page 147.
Yeah. Okay, anything else in the new business realm? All right, so next is discussion of possible action to commence closed meeting to discuss a matter authorized by Utah Code Section 524205(1)(c).
It would not be a town council meeting since I've served here. It didn't be one of these.
So moved.
Past times.
Okay.
Second,
Councilmember Highmark,
Agree.
Councilmember Morgan,
Yes.
Councilmember Schilling,
yes.
and Mayor Burke.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay,
So
that way, brief.
we will have a brief closure, we'll all exit the meeting and then. We'll bring it back online to close out and we'll for the meeting.
Jen, do you have a different
Craig,
link?
Craig, you have the instructions for the closed meeting in an email?
I'll look for them. I don't remember seeing that.
You should have it in 2 places. One, I sent you a direct email and I sent you a calendar invite. It should be involved.
Okay, let me look for the direct email.